Chapter 398. Die. Yagi Yukime once again waved the sword in her hand and rushed to Qin Haodong, but she felt her feet go soft and fell to the ground with a plop. Her heart sank. It was a familiar feeling, a familiar smell. This was cultivation dissolving powder. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought that he would be afflicted with the cultivation dissipation powder under such circumstances. At this time, Qin Haodong stepped in front of her, squatted down, patted her face and said with a smile, "How is it? Is Miss Yukime happy? Are you surprised?" As he spoke, he waved his hand and cast a spell to remove the illusory array beside him. After returning yesterday, he had made sufficient preparations and set up a formation on the training ground. What Yagi Yukime had just seen was an illusion created by the illusory formation, which trapped her there. Of course, this alone was not enough. The illusory magic circle was not enough to subdue a supreme power master, so Qin Haodong crushed 10 cultivation dissipation powder pills in succession nearby to maintain the concentration of cultivation dissipation powder in the air for a long time. Then he deliberately provoked Yagi Yukime to increase her breathing and blood circulation. Finally, he put her down on the ground. "Despicable Huaxia person, if you have the guts, fight me with real swords and spears." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "What are you talking about? I'm just a doctor. Medicine is my job. If you want to challenge martial artists, you can go to China's Wudang Mountain, Shaolin Temple, or any of the major sections. You can pick any of them. There's no need to keep chasing me." While speaking, he picked up the Dujijiri Yasutsuna that Yagi Yukime had dropped on the ground. He looked at it and said, "This knife is good." Seeing that the Yagyu family's treasure knife had fallen into Qin Haodong's hands, Yagi Yukime shouted, "Put it down. That's my knife." Qin Haodong raised his hand and knocked on her plump buttocks with the knife. He laughed and said, "What are you screaming for with a broken knife? Now even you are my captive. Bastard, I'll kill you." Being hit in the buttocks in public made Yagi Yukime feel more and more humiliated. She pounced on Qin Haodong again. "You really have big breasts and no brains. You're still fighting and killing at this time." Without cultivation, Yagi Yukime was like a child in front of Qin Haodong. She had no ability to resist. He grabbed her arm and tied her up in the blink of an eye. After that, Qin Haodong touched her smooth cheek again and said, "Why did you come here? It would be great if we could live happily together. Why did you have to let me tie you up?" Yagi Yukime roared angrily, "Despicable Huaxia man, kill me if you dare, or I will definitely kill you. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Let me tell you, if I kill you now, no one will know. Then kill me, or I'll definitely kill you." Yagi Yukime looked at Qin Haodong with fire in her eyes. At this time, she already hated this man. Qin Haodong looked at her and said with a smile, "How can I kill you? I still want to sell you for money." After that, he put Yagi Yukime on his shoulder and took her back to his room. Yagi Yukime was nervous all over. She thought that Qin Haodong was going to do that kind of thing to her again. However, when she entered the room and saw two women who were as beautiful as her sitting in the room, she was relieved. Seeing Qin Haodong enter the door, Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan both stood up. Nalan Wushuang asked, "So fast? Is this the neon woman?" They had already learned about Yagi Yukime from Qin Haodong yesterday. Now that they saw him catch a supreme power expert in just a few minutes, they were extremely shocked. "This woman is stupid and stupid. It's easy to catch her." Qin Haodong threw Yagi Yukime on the sofa next to him. Yagi Yukime was a heavenly ninja of neon. She was usually very proud, but now she had become a stupid woman in Qin Haodong's words. She immediately shouted angrily, "Bastard, you're stupid. I'll kill you sooner or later." Qin Haodong glared at her and said in a cold voice, "If I say you're stupid, you're stupid. If you anger me again at this time, believe it or not, I'll spank you." Although Yagi Yukime was extremely angry, she glanced at Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan next to her. If she was spanked again in front of these two women, she really couldn't live. She could only suppress her anger and swallow the rest of her words. That's right. It's good to be obedient. Qin Haodong said to Qi Wan, Nalan Wushuang, let me introduce you. This is the eldest daughter of the Neon Yagyu family. She's a heaven stage ninja, Miss Yagyu Yukaim. Nalan Wushuang said, what are you going to do with her? Qin Haodong said, Miss Yagyu Yukaim has a distinguished identity. Of course, I'll sell her for a good price. He had already thought about it before he did it. In fact, the best way was to kill this neon woman. After all, a supreme power expert was a great threat. But no matter what, the two of them had slept together. He couldn't be so cruel, nor could he send her back to the Yagyu family for nothing. Therefore, the best way was to sell her back to the Yagyu family. He believed that Yagyu Shinji would be willing to pay. He turned to Qi Wan, and said, can you contact the master of the Yagyu family? It's better to make a video call. Otherwise, they won't believe that their heaven stage ninja is in our hands. That's easy. Wait for me for a minute. Qi Wan took the laptop and began to operate it quickly. In the Yagyu family, the master of the family, Yagyu Shinji, was sitting in the main seat of the conference room, having a meeting with the core members of the family. Since the news that the Yagyu family had two heaven ninjas had spread, the attitudes of other families had immediately changed 180 degrees. They had extended olive branches to the Yagyu family. Those families who had shown hostility before had also come to apologize, which made the momentum of the Yagyu family unprecedentedly high. The dock promised by the Hanaki family had also been in place. Today, it had begun to generate profits, which made Yagyu Shinji more and more satisfied. While he was listening to the reports of other family members, suddenly the big screen full of all kinds of data flashed, and then a Huaxia person's face appeared in front of everyone. The people in the meeting were shocked and didn't know what was going on. Yagyu Shinji's expression changed greatly. As the master of the Yagyu family, he naturally knew the Huaxia face in front of him. It was Qin Haodong, the enemy who had killed his son. On the big screen, Qin Haodong smiled at everyone and said, Master of the Yagyu family, I'm sorry to bother you. Yagyu Shinji said with a sullen face, Qin Haodong, what do you want to do? Master of the Yagyu family, I want to talk about a business with you. Yagyu Shinji thought that Yagyu Yukaim had played a role in Huaxia and forced Qin Haodong to sell the formula to the Yagyu family, so he waved his hand and asked everyone else to leave, leaving only an assistant. Tell me, how much are you going to sell the formula of the blood revival elixir to us? 3 billion yuan. A playful smile appeared on Qin Haodong's face as he said, but what I want to sell is not the formula of the blood revival elixir, but something else. Yagyu Shinji's expression changed as he said in a cold voice, we only want the formula of the blood revival elixir. We don't want to talk about anything else. Besides, is there anything else in the world that is worth 3 billion yuan? Of course there is. In fact, I think 3 billion yuan for this treasure is a little cheap. After Qin Haodong said that, the picture on the screen changed. Yagyu Yukaim, who was tied up, appeared on the camera. Yagyu Shinji was shocked. He hadn't expected that Yagyu Yukaim, who had made the Yagyu family famous, would be tied up. After a pause, Qin Haodong's head appeared on the big screen again. He smiled at Yagyu Shinji and said, Master of the Yagyu family, are you interested in this treasure? Yagyu Shinji said angrily, Qin Haodong, Yukaim is the leader of the Neon delegation. How dare you kidnap her? I'm warning you, let her go quickly. Master of the Yagyu family, so you don't have any sincerity in doing business. Miss Yukaim is your daughter. Are you reluctant to pay 3 billion yuan? If you don't buy it, I'll sell it to someone else. Yagyu Shinji quickly said, wait a minute, 3 billion yuan is not a small amount. You have to give me some time. Qin Haodong thought for a moment and said, well, I'll give you 3 hours. You must give me an answer after 3 hours. After that, the picture on the big screen flashed and Qin Haodong's head disappeared. Bastard, how did he manage to capture Shuai Jie? Yagyu Shinji threw the teacup in his hand to the ground. The assistant next to him asked carefully, "Master, what should we do now? Do we really have to pay 3 billion yuan? We must save Yukaim. She is the hope of our family. Without her, our Yagyu family will be completely finished." Yagyu Shinji's face darkened and he said, "But it's not so easy to take money from our Yagyu family. This time, Yukaim is representing the government. Inform Miyashiro Yoshida immediately and ask him to contact the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Neon. Tell them that Qin Haodong kidnapped our leader and ask the government to rescue her as soon as possible." The assistant quickly agreed and said, "Okay, I'll do it now." Miyashiro Yoshida was drinking tea in his room. When he heard the news that Yagyu Yukaim had been kidnapped by Qin Haodong, he was extremely shocked. He couldn't understand how the two people, who had been fighting on the same bed last night, had become kidnappers and kidnappers today. However, when he saw the photo of Yagyu Yukaim being tied up, he didn't hesitate at all. He quickly took the photo to Fujita Takashi, an accompanying official from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Neon. Together, they found Gao Fong, the director of the investment promotion agency. Gao Fong was also very shocked when he heard the news, but this kind of thing was absolutely not a joke. He immediately took Fujita Takashi and Miyashiro Yoshida to the Municipal Public Security Bureau and reported the case to Deputy Director Wang Jianfeng. Wang Jianfeng was shocked. He knew Qin Haodong very well and felt that he couldn't do such a thing. He said, "The leader of the delegation was kidnapped by Qin Haodong? Could there be some kind of misunderstanding here?" Fujita Takashi held the photo and said, "Director Wang, our president was indeed kidnapped in your country. There can't be any misunderstanding." Since he had received the report, he had to deal with it. Especially this kind of foreign case, Wang Jianfeng had to deal with it more carefully. He said, "Don't worry, our public security agency will definitely investigate this matter." In the end, he mobilized a large number of police forces and asked the technical department to locate Qin Haodong. Then, he rushed directly to Daddy's security company. Nalan Wuxia rushed over with the police force of the crime squad. She knew the situation between Qin Haodong and Yagyu Yukaim very well. Once they needed help, she would resolutely stand on Qin Haodong's side. At Daddy's security company, Qin Haodong stood in front of the window and looked at the police cars driving into the yard. He couldn't help but smile. He turned back and said to Yagyu Yukaim, "It seems that the Yagyu family still hasn't given up. They even called the police." Yagyu Yukaim cried, "I'm the leader of the Neon delegation. Let me go quickly, or the consequences will be very serious." Qin Haodong said with a smile, "You think too much. The result will surprise you." Chapter 399. Seeing a large number of police officers and the Neon delegation rushing into the Daddy security company, Nalan Wuxuang said nervously, "Haodong, these people must be coming for Yagyu Yukaim. What should we do?" Chi Wan also said, "Why don't we hide this woman quickly? It may be too late." Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, "No need. They can't see her even if I put her here." After that, he stretched out his hands and several small flags of different colors appeared in his palms. He waved his hands and the small flags flew quickly to various spaces in the room as if they were enchanted. Then, they disappeared into thin air. Is this a formation? Nalan Wuxuang and Chi Wan both knew that Qin Haodong was proficient in all kinds of strange formations, but they had never seen him set up a formation. When they turned around, they were surprised to find that Yagyu Yukaim had disappeared from their sight. Chi Wan cried out in surprise, "Where did you take Yagyu Yukaim? This is just a stealth formation, not a big move. Where can she be? She's still in her original position." Qin Haodong said, as if to show that what he said was true. He reached out and patted Yagyu Yukaim's position. "Look, she's obviously here, but she can't be seen." Yagyu Yukaim was shocked by the magic of the formation. Then, she was ashamed and angry. Just now, she was patted on the highest part of her chest. "Shameless Wuxia person, take your hand away." She shouted angrily, but was surprised to find that the three people in front of her did not respond, as if they had not heard her. Qin Haodong used the formation to hide her figure, and at the same time, he added a soundproof boundary. Even if she shouted until her throat broke, it would be useless. No one could hear her. Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan also felt that the stealth formation was very interesting. They also reached out to touch Yagi Yukaim, which made her feel more and more humiliated, but there was nothing she could do. At that moment, there was the sound of messy footsteps. Then, the door opened. Wang Jianfeng and Nalan Wuxia came in with a group of policemen, followed by Fujita Takashi, Miyashiro Yoshida, and several others. After entering, before Wang Jianfeng could speak, Fujita Takashi immediately pointed to Qin Haodong and shouted, "Director Wang, this is the man who kidnapped Miss Yagyu." As he spoke, the hand behind his back gently pinched Yagi Yukaim's cheek a few times. Yagi Yukaim couldn't care less about that. She shouted to Miyashiro Yoshida and the others, I'm here. Hurry up and get me out." However, she soon discovered that no matter how much she shouted, no one in the room could hear her. There was no response. This made her extremely angry. At the same time, she was extremely shocked. She didn't understand how the Huaxia man in front of her did it. She was clearly here, and she was clearly shouting her lungs out. Why couldn't anyone see or hear her? Wang Jianfeng said, "Dr. Qin, this is Mr. Fujita Takashi from Japan. He reported that you kidnapped Miss Yagi Yukaim, so please cooperate with our investigation." Fujita Takashi shouted again, "What else is there to investigate? He kidnapped Miss Yagyu. Just arrest him." Wang Jianfeng frowned, turned his head, and said to him, "Mr. Fujita, please respect the procedures of the Huaxia police. Before we can confirm that Miss Yagyu has been kidnapped by Mr. Qin, we will not arrest her." Qin Haodong said, "I don't know when Miss Yagi Yukaim was kidnapped. I haven't gone out since I came back last night. How could I kidnap someone? Besides, Miss Yagyu and I are now considered friends. We had a pleasant conversation last night. If you need me, I can help you look for her, but you can't slander me at will." While speaking, he reached out and patted Yagi Yukaim's cheek. Yagi Yukaim was going crazy. She opened her mouth and bit Qin Haodong's finger hard. In her opinion, as long as Qin Haodong's hand was bitten, it would definitely attract the attention of the people present. But then she found that Qin Haodong's finger was as hard as steel. Her teeth were about to fall off, but there was no trace left on his finger. Fujita Takashi cried, "You said you haven't gone out. Who can prove it?" Qin Haodong said, "Our company has a lot of cameras. Let's take a look at the surveillance first." Miyashiro Yoshida said, "This can't prove anything. Even if Mr. Qin hasn't left the security company, Miss Yagyu may have come here to find you and then been kidnapped by you." According to his speculation, Yagi Yukaim must have run over to find Qin Haodong and then been kidnapped by him. Qin Haodong said, "Mr. Miyashiro Yoshida, what you said is wrong. You know how happy I was with Miss Yagyu last night. How could I kidnap her?" Miyashiro Yoshida really couldn't explain this kind of thing. Moreover, he didn't understand what had happened. Fujita Takashi said, "Director Wang, don't listen to this person's sophistry. Miss Yagyu must have been hidden somewhere by him. As long as we find her, he will have nothing to say." This, Wang Jianfeng was in a bit of a dilemma. On one side was Qin Haodong, whom he had a good relationship with, and on the other side was the pressure from Neon. It made it difficult for him to make a decision for a while. Qin Haodong saw his dilemma and said, "Director Wang, since this gentleman has proposed it, you can search as much as you want. I'm a righteous person and I'm not afraid of crooked accusations. A search can also clear my suspicion." Looking at his righteous appearance, Nalan Wushuang and Qi Wan almost laughed out loud. She was in the room, but these idiots still wanted to search. "Well, thank you for your cooperation, Dr. Qin," Wang Jianfeng said and waved to the policeman behind him. Those people immediately began to search. Fujita Takashi asked the Neon delegation to follow them closely, as if he was afraid that these policemen would be biased. Wang Jianfeng frowned, but did not say anything. Wang Jianfeng brought a lot of policemen. After about half an hour, they searched the entire Daddy security company, including the people brought by Fujita Takashi. While supervising these policemen, they also looked around. They also did not find Yagi Yukaim. The policeman in charge of the search came back and reported, "Director, we have finished the search and found nothing suspicious." Wang Jianfeng turned to look at Fujita Takashi and Miyashiro Yoshida. "You too, this seems to be a misunderstanding. It has nothing to do with Dr. Chin." Fujita Takashi thought that Yagi Yukaim would be found in the Daddy security company. He did not expect this result, but he still shouted unwillingly, "Director Wang, this must have been done by Qin Haodong. You will know if you arrest him and ask him." Wang Jianfeng had lost his patience with this neon man. He frowned and said, "Mr. Fujita, do you want us to use the tiger stool and pepper water? Let me tell you, the police have procedures for handling cases. We will not arrest people casually, nor will we extort confessions by torture. I think it's better to investigate Miss Yagyu's disappearance from another direction. Maybe she went out to play with someone else." Fujita Takashi held the photo in his hand and said angrily, "Director Wang, look. Miss Yagyu has obviously been tied up. How could she have gone out to play?" Qin Haodong said with a smile, "I heard that there is a very special game in your country. People like to tie people up with ropes when they have nothing to do. Is that what Miss Yukaim likes? B****, you dare to insult our Miss Yagyu." Fujita Takashi shouted at Wang Jianfeng, "Arrest him, Director Wang. We must arrest him. Mr. Fujita, we have done what we should do. Now there is no evidence that Dr. Qin kidnapped Miss Yagyu, so we can't arrest him." After that, he waved his hand and said, "Retreat." Nalan Wuxia nodded slightly to Qin Haodong and Nalan Wuxuang, then quickly retreated with her people. Fujita Takashi shouted angrily, "Is this how the Chinese police do things? I will protest, I will definitely protest." Wang Jianfeng said, "We have a video of the whole process of today's case. Mr. Fujita can do whatever you want." After that, he also turned around and walked out. Soon, all the policemen left the Daddy security company. In the room, only Fujita Takashi, Miyashiro Yoshida, and a few other neon people were left. Qin Haodong looked at them, smiled, and said, "You guys, I'm sorry. We don't like neon people here, so please get out." "You bastard, how dare you speak to me like this? Do you know who I am?" Before Fujita Takashi could finish speaking, Qin Haodong said to Chen Fugue and the others, "Throw them out." Chen Fugue himself had long disliked these neon people. He was waiting for Qin Haodong's order. At this time, he immediately rushed over with his people and dragged them out like catching chickens. "You bastard." Fujita Takashi still wanted to resist, but he was no match for these people from the Daddy security company. Soon, he was thrown out like a dead pig. They got up from the ground with their faces covered in dirt. Only then did they realize that without the protection of the police, they were nothing in front of Qin Haodong. Even the bodyguards they had brought had no ability to resist at all. Although Fujita Takashi was angry, he could do nothing. He said, "Mr. Miyashiro, what should we do now?" Miyashiro Yoshida sighed and said, "This matter is not something we can control. We can only report it to the family master truthfully." After these people left, Qin Haodong reached out and took back the scattered formation flags. He removed the invisibility formation, then walked in front of Yagi Yukaim and said with a smile, "How was it? Was it fun?" Seeing that her reinforcements had left, Yagi Yukaim roared angrily, "Bastard, I will definitely kill you." "Is that the only line? Don't you know how to change it? It's really boring." Qin Haodong said, "Now it's time to talk to Yagi Shinji. I believe he will be willing to pay for you this time." At the Yagyu family in Neon, Yagyu Shinji had just hung up the phone with Miyashiro Yoshida when Qin Haodong's call came in. "Master of the Yagyu family, you should have given up, right? Yagyu Shinji said with a gloomy face. Qin Haodong, what do you want? I'm very unhappy that your Yagyu family bought the Chinese medicine wholesale market. Well, I'll give you an hour to transfer the Chinese medicine wholesale market to Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. Remember, you only have an hour. If you haven't done it in an hour, I promise that from today on, the Yagyu family will only have one heavenly ninja left. Well, I promise you. As long as you are willing to send Yukaim back safely, I will immediately transfer the Chinese medicine wholesale market to your name. Yagyu Shinji finally agreed. Yagyu Yukaim was too important to the Yagyu family. If anything happened to her, it would be a fatal blow to the Yagyu family. Chapter 400. After hanging up the phone, Yagyu Shinji's assistant said cautiously, Master, we have recorded the phone call just now. Do you want to inform the Huaxia authorities to arrest that guy? Yagyu Shinji shook his head and said, it's enough to do this kind of thing once. If we really annoy Qin Haodong, we can't afford the consequences. The Yagyu family had risen strongly because Yagyu Yukaim had entered the ranks of heavenly ninjas. If Yagyu Yukaim was really killed by Qin Haodong, the Yagyu family would plummet and even be in danger of being destroyed. That was why he had dared to use the Huaxia authorities to catch Qin Haodong off guard last time, but he did not dare to do so this time. The assistant said, are we really going to give the Chinese medicine wholesale market to Qin Haodong for nothing? Yagyu Shinji said, that's a must. Even 10 billion yuan can't buy a heaven-stage ninja. Hurry up and do it. 10 minutes later, some people were surprised to find that the official website of the Yagyu family had issued a statement. The statement said that the Yagyu family admired Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company's contribution to leukemia patients, so they bought the Jiangnan Chinese Medicine wholesale market and gave it to Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company to show their respect. Soon, Qin Haodong received a call from Lin Momo at the Daddy Security Company. Haodong, a man named Miyashiro Yoshida came to our door and asked to sign a transfer contract for the Jiangnan Chinese Medicine wholesale market. He said that he would give it to our company for nothing. What's going on? Lin Momo was really shocked. Yesterday, she had been worried about the price of Chinese medicine. She did not expect that in just one day, the Neon people would take the initiative to send the Chinese medicine wholesale market worth 3 billion yuan to their door. Qin Haodong said with a smile, since they have come to us, just accept it. Don't be shy. Lin Momo said with some doubts, really? Is this a trap of the Neon people? Don't worry. This is a deal I made with the Yagyu family. It's a trap. Hearing Qin Haodong's words, Lin Momo was relieved. She immediately formed a formal transfer contract with Miyashiro Yoshida. From that moment on, the Chinese medicine wholesale market became one of the subordinate industries of Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. Yagyu Yukaim was still firmly tied up. She had been sitting next to Qin Haodong. After hearing the news, she was even more angry. Bastard, you're a robber. Originally, she had invested 3 billion yuan to buy the Chinese medicine wholesale market to restrict Tangmen Traditional Chinese Medicine Company. She didn't expect that it would become someone else's business so quickly. Now she completely understood what it meant to go for wool and come home shorn. Am I a bandit? Since you said so, then I'll have to snatch more. As soon as Qin Haodong finished speaking, his phone rang. It was Yagyu Shinji. Qin Haodong, I've done as you said. Let Shuaji go. Family Master Yagyu, don't worry. I've always been a man of my word. Since I've taken your Chinese medicine wholesale market, I'll naturally return Miss Yukaim to you. Qin Haodong said jokingly, but a friendly reminder, Miss Shuaji has already taken my cultivation dissipation powder. If there is no antidote, she will be an ordinary person in the future. Bastard. Yagyu Shinji was furious. He didn't expect that he would spend 3 billion yuan to buy Yagyu Yukaim, whose cultivation had been destroyed. At the same time, he understood why Yagyu Yukaim would obediently be held in Qin Haodong's hands. He took a deep breath, calmed his anger, and cried, Qin Haodong, you're not keeping your word. Family Master Yagyu, you're wrong. We made it clear at that time that you gave me the Chinese medicine wholesale market, and I would send Miss Yukaim back to you. How can you say that I'm not keeping my word? Yagyu Shinji said, tell me, how can you restore Yukaim's cultivation? Qin Haodong said with a smile, it's very simple. I have an antidote here. She will recover immediately after taking it. However, the materials of my medicine are rare, so the price is naturally a little higher. It costs 1 billion yuan. I don't know if you'll buy it or not. Yagyu Shinji gritted his teeth and said, I'll buy it. Qin Haodong had already guessed this result. He said with a smile, since you want to buy it, then hurry up and pay. Soon, his mobile phone beeped. 1 billion yuan from the Yagyu family had been transferred to his account. Qin Haodong looked at Yagyu Yukaim and said with a smile, it seems that you're really worth a lot of money. You're welcome to come to Huaxia in the future. Yagyu Yukaim gritted her teeth and said, shameless Huaxia man. When I come again, I will definitely kill you. You have to have the ability to do that. Qin Haodong said jokingly, but let me say this first. Next time, the price will not be this. It will be doubled. Your Yagyu family will prepare 800,000 yuan before coming to Huaxia. An hour later, Qin Haodong appeared at Jiangnan Airport with Yagyu Yukaim. He gave the ticket to Yagyu Yukaim, then took out 3 small red pills and gave them to her. Take 1 pill a day. 3 days later, you will have a big surprise. Remember, don't run around before your cultivation is restored. Otherwise, it will be very dangerous. Yagyu Yukaim looked at Qin Haodong with a complicated expression, then turned around and entered the boarding gate. Watching the plane slowly rise, Qin Haodong finally breathed a sigh of relief. He had finally sent this neon woman out of Huaxia. Otherwise, how could he face a supreme power master who could recover at any time? It was really stressful. He turned around and walked out of the airport. Just as he walked a short distance, he heard a charming voice behind him saying, handsome, do you want to date? Qin Haodong looked back and saw a tall woman standing behind him. She was looking at him with interest and a foxy smile on her face. It was Hu Shaoxian. It's so late. Why are you here? Hu Shaoxian stepped forward and kissed him on the cheek. Then, she held his arm and said with a smile, of course, it's best to do this kind of thing at night. The people around stopped to watch. Seeing Hu Shaoxian's beautiful face and curvy figure, many male creatures kept swallowing and secretly complained why they didn't have such good luck. Qin Haodong wiped the cheek that had been kissed and said, let's go. Let's get in the car first. After they got in the car, Qin Haodong asked again, what are you doing in Jiangnan? Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, of course to sleep with you. I've said several times that you'll sleep with me. Today, I'm finally going to fulfill my promise. Qin Haodong said, be serious. I'm being serious. Why? Are you not interested in me after you slept with Yagyu Yukaim? Has your taste changed? Do you want me to put something in the water? Qin Haodong was speechless and said, what are you doing every day? How do you even know this? Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, I don't know about other people's affairs, but I definitely know about yours. I heard that you fought with Yagyu Yukaim for a day and a night, and finally left with your hands on the wall. Qin Haodong really didn't want to mention this embarrassing thing again. He said, where are you going? Of course to your house. I've said that I'll sleep with you. Hu Shaoxian hugged his arm again and put her plump chest against his. She said with a smile, you haven't been completely squeezed out and haven't recovered yet, have you? Qin Haodong glanced at the white scenery under her collar and couldn't help but think of the fierce battle with Yagyu Yukaim. He couldn't help but feel a burst of heat in his heart. There was a reaction in a certain part of his body. Hu Shaoxian keenly felt it. She glanced there and said with a smile, it seems that your body is good. It can still be used. Meeting this little fox, Qin Haodong really didn't know what to say, so he kept his mouth shut and drove directly back to his villa. After going upstairs, Hu Shaoxian took a bath and changed into a pair of black lace pajamas. Then, she went straight to Qin Haodong's room. She had just taken a bath. Her white skin had a hint of delicate pink, which looked extremely attractive. The so-called beauty coming out of the bath should be talking about this effect. In addition, her nightdress was very short, revealing her smooth collarbone. The bottom part only covered the key parts. Her two slender and straight thighs were particularly dazzling under the light. Looking at the extremely attractive woman in front of him, Qin Haodong licked his dry lips and said, "You've been tired for a day. Go to sleep quickly. We've agreed to sleep together. Why do you want to drive me away?" Hu Shaoxian said in a resentful tone, "Why? Do you think my body is not as good as that Japanese woman's?" As she spoke, she made a stretching movement in front of Qin Haodong, showing her sexy figure and wonderful arc incisively and vividly. Qin Haodong swallowed his saliva again. In the face of this undisguised extreme temptation, the second master immediately had a reaction. Hu Shaoxian glanced there and said with a smile, "Well, let's talk about business first. We'll have an in-depth exchange later." She sat next to Qin Haodong, held his arm and said, "I have good news for you. Do you want to hear it?" Qin Haodong struggled to move his eyes away from Hu Shaoxian's chest and said, "Of course I want to hear good news." Hu Shaoxian took out a small red book from her bag and gave it to him. She said, "Look, what's this?" Qin Haodong took the small book and glanced at it. He saw 5 strong and powerful golden characters written on the front. Xianyuan Pavilion of Huaxia. After opening it, there was a line of small characters inside. Xianyuan Pavilion Guest Elder Qin Haodong. It was also stamped with the big seal of the Xianyuan Pavilion. He was slightly stunned and asked in surprise, "I didn't agree to join the Xianyuan Pavilion. When did I become your guest elder?" "Just yesterday." Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "Look carefully. This is the guest elder of the Xianyuan Pavilion, not the elder of our Xian department." Qin Haodong said, "But even if it's the Xianyuan Pavilion, I didn't say I would join." Hu Shaoxian rolled her eyes at him and said, "You are a typical example of taking advantage of others. Do you know how precious this small book is? Many people want it but can't get it. It took me and Grandpa a lot of persuasion to help you get it from the head of the Xianyuan Pavilion. There are only 5 elders in the Xianyuan Pavilion. My grandpa, as the head of the Xian department, became one of them. Even my grandma is only one of the elders of the Xian department. Although you are only a guest elder, your status is respected enough. But I'm just a little doctor. I don't want to join the Xianyuan Pavilion. Listen to me first, and then you can consider whether to refuse or not." Hu Shaoxian said, "First of all, the guest elder enjoys the treatment of the Xianyuan Pavilion, and is not restricted by the Xianyuan Pavilion. That is to say, you can do the task given by the Xianyuan Pavilion if you want to. At the same time, as an elder of the Xianyuan Pavilion, you are no longer subject to the ordinary laws of Huaxia. No matter what you do, it will be handled by the Xianyuan Pavilion, and the local department has no right to interfere." Qin Haodong's eyes widened and he asked, "Is this the legendary license to kill?" Hu Shaoxian said, "Almost, but privilege does not mean lawlessness. If you kill innocent people, the Xianyuan Pavilion will not let you go." Chapter 401. This is really a good thing. The look in Qin Haodong's eyes changed when he looked at the little book. Of course, he would not kill innocent people, but he did not want to do things with his hands and feet. With the identity of the guest elder, he could save a lot of trouble. The most important thing was that this identity would not restrict his freedom. He could help the Xianyuan Pavilion when it was convenient, and he could still do whatever he wanted to do on weekdays. Of course it's a good thing. Hu Shaoxian said, "You can be given such a high treatment because you destroyed the special organization in M country, especially the experimental materials you brought back. They have high scientific research value and play a very good supporting role in the development of genetic technology in Huaxia. That's why you are specially approved to be a guest elder." When it came to the organization that Davis was in, Qin Haodong asked, "By the way, has the Xianyuan Pavilion found out what kind of organization it is? Hu Shaoxian shook her head and said, so far, there is no information about that organization, but the Xianyuan Pavilion has registered it. I believe we will find relevant clues in the future. Qin Haodong put away the small book of the guest elder and said, I'll take this. Thank you, and the old man. The value of this guest elder is very high. How are you going to thank me? Hu Shaoxian said as she turned over and sat in Qin Haodong's arms. She put her hands around his neck and two slender long legs on his waist. Because of the posture, her snow-white chest was directly exposed in front of him, which was so dazzling that he could not open his eyes. The most important thing was that as a person with extremely developed six senses, Qin Haodong keenly felt that there seemed to be only his big underpants between the second leader and Hu Shaoxian, and there was nothing on Hu Shaoxian's side, which meant that there was nothing under her nightgown. This discovery was more stimulating than the two towering peaks on her chest. He suddenly felt a burst of heat in his nostrils, as if he was going to have a nosebleed again. He quickly reached out to cover his nose and then closed his eyes. Hu Shaoxian was like a fairy. She giggled and put her forehead against Qin Haodong's. She said, why are you covering your nose? Is my smell not as good as that neon woman? Smells good, you smell the best. Hurry up and get off, okay? Qin Haodong said hurriedly, hoping that the fox would get off him as soon as possible. If it smells so good, why are you covering your nose? If it smells so good, why do you want me to go down? Are you lying? Hu Shaoxian seemed to like to see him embarrassed. When she spoke, she twisted her buttocks, which made Qin Haodong even more on the verge of breaking down. He hurriedly said, hurry up. Let's talk about it. I'll promise you whatever you want. This is what you said. Don't go back on your word. Hu Shaoxian burst into laughter for a while. I said it, it's what I said. As long as you go down there, you can do whatever you want. Qin Haodong felt that his nostrils were getting hotter and hotter. He was afraid that he would have a nosebleed if he dragged on. At that time, he would not be able to raise his head in front of Hu Shaoxian for the rest of his life. Hu Shaoxian giggled and kissed him gently on the forehead. Then she turned over and sat on the bed again. Qin Haodong breathed a sigh of relief. This little vixen was too torturous. Hu Shaoxian took his hand and said, I want you to do me a favor this time. Come with me to Burma. Qin Haodong said, what are we going to do there? Hu Shaoxian stopped smiling and said seriously, recently, drug crimes have been rampant in Huaxia. Although the Public Security Department has done its best to find many drug crimes, it still can't effectively control this trend. There is always a continuous flow of drugs from the Golden Triangle of Burma to Huaxia. Qin Haodong asked, wasn't it like this before? Hu Shaoxian shook her head and said, there were also drug crimes in Huaxia before, but they were not so rampant. Especially in Burma, they were basically sold to the Western world and rarely transported to Huaxia. Recently, I don't know why, but the focus of drug sales suddenly shifted to Huaxia. It started 2 months ago. This matter is getting more and more serious. It is difficult to deal with it by the limited power of the public security, so the police department applied for the intervention of the Xianyuan Pavilion. In order to find out the situation, I was specially asked to go to Burma. That's why I haven't been to Jiangnan recently. Have you found out the reason? Of course, I've done it myself. There's nothing I can't find out. Hu Shaoxian said, the root of all these problems is Zhou Tianhu, the leader of the Jade Gang. Zhou Tianhu? Qin Haodong was very familiar with the name. He had dealt with the men of the Jade Gang several times before. They were also one of his enemies. He asked, isn't Zhou Tianhu in charge of the Jade Gang? Why does the drugs have anything to do with him? We have to start from the beginning. Hu Shaoxian said, the situation in Burma is completely different from that in Huaxia. The government there is weak, but the underground forces are very strong. There are 3 main gangs in Burma. The Jade Gang controls the raw jade gemstone business, the White Wolf Gang controls the drug business, and the Lutheran Society controls the gambling business. These three gangs originally made their own money, and there was not much contact between them. But just 2 months ago, Bai Peng, the leader of the White Wolf gang, suddenly died. It was claimed that he had a sudden heart attack, and the deputy leader, Cobra, took over the position of the leader. The change began from there. Qin Haodong said, "Does Cobra have something to do with Zhou Tianhu?" Hu Shaoxian said, "You're right. Cobra was originally a trusted subordinate of Zhou Tianhu. He was sent to the White Wolf gang as an undercover agent many years ago. I believe that Bai Peng's death has something to do with Zhou Tianhu and Cobra." Qin Haodong asked, "Even if Zhou Tianhu killed Bai Peng, what does it have to do with the dumping of drugs in Huaxia?" Hu Shaoxian said, "Although the situation in Burma is complicated, most of the forces are controlled by Huaxia people. Although these people were born in Burma, they are all descendants of Huaxia people. For example, Bai Peng's grandfather used to be a general of the Burma Expeditionary Force. Later, he stayed in Burma for special historical reasons. Although Bai Peng was in the drug business, he never sold drugs to Huaxia because of his grandfather's influence. Zhou Tianhu was completely different. He was a madman. All he saw was money. He would do anything as long as he got money. There are more than 1 billion people in Huaxia. In their view, as long as they sold drugs to Huaxia, there would be endless money. Therefore, after Zhou Tianhu and Cobra took control of the White Wolf gang, the direction of drug sales in Burma immediately changed. They began to dump drugs to Huaxia. Qin Haodong nodded. That explained why there were drugs in the raw stones of the Jade gang in Burma. It turned out that Zhou Tianhu was behind all this. He said, "Since the matter has been investigated, it couldn't be simpler. The Xianyuan Pavilion can send a master to kill Zhou Tianhu." Hu Shaoxian shook her head and said, "It's not that simple. First of all, Zhou Tianhu's defense is very tight. He has raised many masters in Jianghu over the years, and there are countless hidden gunmen. It's very difficult to kill him. That's the second reason. There's another very important reason. In Burma, whoever has a gun is the boss. There is also General Li Site, who is above the three gangs. Li Site has nearly 10,000 troops under his command. He is the real king of the Golden Triangle. Although he doesn't participate in the specific business of the three gangs, half of the profits of the three gangs have to be handed over to his pocket. The reason why Zhou Tianhu can replace Bai Peng must have been with Li Site's consent before. Our goal is not to kill Zhou Tianhu. The ultimate goal is to find someone who can replace Zhou Tianhu to control the drug trade. To do this, we must get the approval of General Li Site." Qin Haodong said, "Is that why you asked me to accompany you to Burma? Even your Xianyuan Pavilion can't deal with Li Site. What's the use of me going there? Is he a woman? Are you going to let me sacrifice my body?" "Sacrifice your body? You wish." Hu Shaoxian reached out and pinched Qin Haodong's nose. She said, "Li Site is very difficult to talk to. It's not easy to get his approval. But everyone has a weakness. Li Site is the same. He is 60 years old this year. At the age of 40, he had a son, Li Pingan. He treasured his son very much. He was afraid of any accidents, so he named him Li Pingan. Unexpectedly, something happened in the end. A few years ago, Li Pingan suddenly got a strange disease. Nothing could be seen in ordinary days. Once it broke out, he was extremely grumpy, almost like a mental illness. And recently, it has become more and more serious. Li Site was very anxious about his son's illness. He invited many famous doctors to treat Li Pingan, but it still didn't work. Qin Haodong said, "Do you mean that I should treat Li Pingan and get Li Site's approval? You're smart. I'll reward you." Hu Shaoxian said and kissed Qin Haodong's face again. "You're not a reward. You're taking advantage of me. You can also take advantage of me. I'm not stopping you." Hu Shaoxian said and straightened her chest. Her lace pajamas swayed seductively under the drive of her two peaks. Qin Haodong swallowed and said, forget it. It's better for you to take advantage of me. Coward. Hu Shaoxian rolled her eyes at him and said, although Li Sight is very difficult to talk to, he has a characteristic, that is, he keeps his word. As long as he promised something, he won't go back on it. If you can really cure Li Pingan, then you can take Zhou Tianhu's matter as the consultation fee. I believe Li Sight will agree. Qin Haodong said, I can cure him, but how long will it take to go to Burma? Hu Shaoxian said, Li Sight is very suspicious. If you take the initiative to treat his son, I'm afraid he will suspect that you're here to assassinate him. You'll be shot before you see Li Pingan. So, we have to open a clinic in Burma first. When you become famous, let him invite you to his clinic. And after getting List's approval, we have to find a chance to kill Zhou Tianhu, so it will take longer. Qin Haodong said, it can't be too long. You know I have a lot of things to do in Jiangnan. I can't leave for too long. You'd better find someone else. I can't trust anyone else. Hu Shaoxian said, this is your first task after becoming a guest elder. You have to do it well, right? I just said that the tasks of the Xianyuan Pavilion must be approved by me. You can't force me, or I'd rather not be an elder. Of course, the Xianyuan Pavilion won't force you, but you just promised me. You said that you would meet all my conditions. Have you forgotten so quickly? Hu Shaoxian said and rode on Qin Haodong again. She hugged his neck and said, why don't we review again? As long as you can promise me, you can do anything. Chapter 402. Seeing that the two trembling peaks were about to hit his face, Qin Haodong felt a burst of heat in his nostrils. He hurriedly cried, okay. Okay. I agree. I'll go with you, okay? Hu Shaoxian reached out and patted his cheek. She said jokingly, it's boring. Why did you give in so quickly? I haven't started the torture yet. Qin Haodong glanced at the two hemispheres close at hand, swallowed his saliva, and said, I'm a soft person. Don't torture me. Soft? Little man, are you lying again? Why don't I feel so? Hu Shaoxian said as she sat on Qin Haodong's body. It seemed that she was using practical actions to verify Qin Haodong's words. This strong sense of friction and squeezing made Qin Haodong tremble all over. He quickly reached out to hold Hu Shaoxian's waist and pulled her down from his body. Hu Shaoxian giggled and said, since you've agreed, when will you go with me? Qin Haodong gasped and said, I'll discuss it with Momo tomorrow, and then I'll give you an answer. Hu Shaoxian stretched and said, well, it seems that the Empress's opinion is the most important here. After that, she threw Qin Haodong on the bed again. Since the business is over, let's go to sleep. Are you really going to sleep here? Of course, we agreed to sleep together. Hu Shaoxian nestled comfortably in Qin Haodong's arms. She stroked his chest and said, what's wrong? Why are you so nervous? It's not like we haven't slept together before. After saying that, she pulled the quilt over and covered both of their bodies. Qin Haodong said, but this time is different from last time. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have forgotten. It's a little different. After saying that, Hu Shaoxian quickly threw her lace nightdress out of the quilt. How is it? Is it more comfortable to hold it now? Hu Shaoxian climbed into his arms again and raised her beautiful face with a sly smile. Qin Haodong was speechless for a while. Was this little fox sent by God to torture him? At this moment, he really had the urge to execute Hu Shaoxian on the spot. All right, it's almost dawn. Let's go to sleep. Hu Shaoxian held Qin Haodong tightly and soon fell asleep. Qin Haodong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This damned woman had flirted with him again and again. When he was about to be moved, she fell asleep. Could it be that sleep was so simple in her heart? He couldn't do anything while holding such a sexy woman. In the end, Qin Haodong fell asleep slowly with a belly full of helplessness. The next morning, he got out of bed early and went to the bathroom to take a cold shower. Only then did the second-in-command behave a little more. Hugging a naked beauty to sleep for a night was really a kind of torture for him. He looked back at Hu Shaoxian, who was still sleeping soundly on the bed. It had to be said that this vixen-like woman was indeed very beautiful. Her figure was curvy in all the right places, and thin in all the right places. She was a rare beauty. Especially in the current situation, with her eyes slightly closed, she was simply the legendary Sleeping Beauty. At this time, Hu Shaoxian turned over and threw off the quilt on her body. A large piece of beautiful scenery was exposed to the air, which made the flame that Qin Haodong had just extinguished somewhat rebound. He wanted to leave, but he couldn't help but want to look at it a few more times. Such a beautiful scenery, no matter what, could not be enough. Just when he was enjoying it, suddenly a charming voice said, "Little man, is it not enough to just look? Do you want to touch it?" At some point, Hu Shaoxian had opened her big black grape-like eyes and was looking at him with a playful face. No, you sleep for a while. I'll go to talk to Momo about going to Burma." Qin Haodong was like a thief who had been caught in the act, and he ran out as if he was escaping. Hu Shaoxian glanced at his back and said with a charming smile, "You are really bold. Obviously, you want to die, but you still want to pretend to be a gentleman." In the Lin's villa, the little fellow hadn't gotten up yet. Lin Momo was doing morning exercises in the yard alone. She stopped when she saw Qin Haodong. "Haodong, what did you do? Why did the neon people send the Chinese medicine wholesale market for free? Is it the result of you giving yourself to Yagi Yukaim?" She had just made a casual joke, but she didn't expect it to hit the nail on the head. Qin Haodong said with some embarrassment, "In fact, you can't blame me. I'm also a victim." Lin Momo immediately widened her eyes and asked in surprise, "What? Did you really exchange your body for it?" "Actually, it's not that." Qin Haodong told her what had happened that day from beginning to end. In the end, he extorted 1 billion yuan from the Yagyu family and sent Yagi Yukaim away. Finally, he said awkwardly, "No one expected that bastard Wang Daji to do something in the water dispenser. That's why things turned out like this." Lin Momo glanced at him with a faint smile and said, "I also saw Yagi Yukaim. She is a great beauty. Are you happy now? Do you want to send a certificate to Wang Daji?" "What are you talking about? No matter how beautiful she is, can she be more beautiful than you?" Qin Haodong's words were awe-inspiring and righteous. "Don't be talkative. You don't mean what you say." Although Lin Momo said that, it was obvious that she was very happy with Qin Haodong's flattery. Then she said, "By the way, there's something I want to discuss with you." "What's wrong? Did something happen to Tangmen Company again?" Qin Haodong was a little nervous. He had promised Hu Shaoxian to go to Burma. If Lin Momo arranged other things for him, it would be a little difficult. "It's not about our company. There's something going on with Lin's group." Qin Haodong asked, "What happened to Lin's group?" "It's actually a good thing," Lin Momo said. "Sister Anne came to me yesterday. Since the fall of Feng's group, Lin's group has almost occupied the entire jewelry market in Jiangnan City, and its sales are booming. But now the problem is that the consumption of raw jade materials is extremely fast. Previously, the sales department predicted that the raw jade materials stored by Lin's group could support for half a year, but at that time, the Feng family was still there. Now the market share has increased, but the Jade Gang still doesn't supply us. As a result, the time that the raw jade materials can support has been reduced by half. It is expected that there will be a shortage of raw materials in more than a month. You once promised my grandfather that you would solve the raw jade stone supply problem of Lin's group within half a year. Now it seems that we have to go ahead of schedule." After listening to Lin Momo's words, Qin Haodong thought to himself that the trip to Burma was inevitable. He said, "I'll go to Burma now. Soon, the problem of raw jade supply will be solved." Lin Momo said with some worry, "I heard that there are guns everywhere in Burma. Zhou Tianhu of the Jade Gang is a lawless gang leader. Isn't it too dangerous for you to go alone? Why don't you take more people with you? Qin Haodong said, it's useless to have too many people. Besides, I'm not alone. He told Lin Momo what he and Xiao Xian had told him last night, and then said, the Xianyuan Pavilion wants to get rid of Zhou Tianhu, which is the same as our goal. Naturally, the problem of raw jade materials will be solved. Lin Momo was relieved to hear that a special department of the state would go to Burma with Qin Haodong. She said, anyway, you have to be careful. Qin Haodong said, don't worry. They are just a few small drug dealers. I don't care. Lin Momo nodded. She was the only person in the world who knew Emperor Greenwood. She knew Qin Haodong's strength. In a few days, there will be a public bid for raw jade stones in Burma. If there is time, our Lin's group will buy some. Qin Haodong said, don't worry. I'll get rid of Zhou Tianhu as soon as possible. One morning, a young man and a young woman appeared in a small town in the Golden Triangle of Burma. The woman was charming, tall and sexy, while the man looked much more ordinary. Not only was he ordinary in clothes, but he was also ordinary in appearance. However, the woman was holding the man's arm intimately, which made people feel like a flower inserted in cow dung. The two people were Hu Shaoxian and Qin Haodong in disguise. Because of the hatred with the Jade Gang, Qin Haodong couldn't show up with his original face. Otherwise, it would cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. It was necessary to change his appearance. Originally, he wanted to change his appearance to that of an old Chinese medicine doctor, so that it would be more stylish to open a clinic. However, this idea was strongly opposed by Hu Shaoxian. In her words, it was okay if he was a little ugly, but he had to make himself old and ugly. What would others think of her taste? Qin Haodong had no choice but to change his appearance, but he was still a young man in his early 20s. Where is the place you mentioned? Qin Haodong asked. It's just ahead. We'll be there soon. Although the Golden Triangle was very famous, it was actually very backward. There were few decent buildings in the town. Most of them were ordinary tile-roofed houses. Soon, they came to a separate small courtyard. Hu Shaoxian pointed to the plaque hanging on the door and said, here we are. This is the clinic I prepared for you. It seemed that Hu Shaoxian was sure that Qin Haodong would come to Burma with her. The last time Hu Shaoxian came to inquire about the news, she rented the courtyard and asked someone to transform it into a clinic. Qin Haodong looked up. The door of the small courtyard was decorated in antique style, with the words, Tang's Clinic, written on it. Everything is ready. Even the medicinal materials have been bought at home. Now you can open the door directly. How about it? Are you satisfied with my performance? Hu Shaoxian said with a smile. Not bad. Qin Haodong pushed the door and walked in. There was a 3-room tile-roofed house in the courtyard. The area of the room was about 100 square meters. The 50 square meters in front were transformed into the facade of the clinic by Hu Shaoxian. The back was the bedroom where they lived. At the same time, there was a kitchen and a bedroom. When he saw the only big bed in the bedroom, Qin Haodong frowned slightly. It seemed that his hard days were not over yet. He would be tortured by this little fox in the future. Hu Shaoxian said, how about it, Dr. Tang? If you are satisfied, let's open the door now. After Qin Haodong changed his appearance, he used the name Tang Feng again. Well, let's open now. Qin Haodong also wanted to buy time to deal with things here as soon as possible. So Hu Shaoxian found a string of firecrackers that had been prepared and lit them at the door. The Tang's clinic was officially opened. But the situation was not very ideal. It was almost noon, but there were no patients. Qin Haodong said to Hu Shaoxian, I said I would disguise myself as an old Chinese medicine doctor, at least I would look good. But you made me look like this. Now there are no patients. Chapter 403. I'm not a duck. Why do I need to look good? Hu Shaoxian sat on his lap, put her arms around his neck and said, "You didn't pretend to be an old man in the south of the Yangtze River. You still became a medical sage. Being a doctor depends on medical skills. Everything else is meaningless." Hu Xiaoxian's plump body was sitting in his arms. Qin Haodong had nowhere to put his hands. He said, "Get down quickly. It's not good to be seen by others." Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "There are only the two of us here. Besides, I'm your wife now. What's wrong with being a little intimate?" Then she kissed Qin Haodong on the cheek again and giggled, "It's good now. I'm your legitimate wife. You only belong to me." When they came to Burma this time, Hu Shaoxian set the identity of the two of them as husband and wife, saying that it was convenient to perform tasks. However, Qin Haodong always felt that she was using her power for personal gain. It was not convenient to perform tasks, but she really wanted to take advantage of him. Just then, someone outside the door called, "Is anyone there?" As soon as the voice fell, an old woman in her 60s came in with a black puppy in her arms. The old woman spoke in Burmese language, but Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian had already done a language assault before, so there was no problem in communicating. Qin Haodong quickly pushed Hu Shaoxian off him, stood up and said, "Auntie, do you want to see a doctor?" The old woman pointed to the black puppy in her arms and said, "Not me, but my little black." Qin Haodong was speechless. He was the medical sage and opened a clinic in Burma. The first patient who came to see him was a dog. "Auntie, you're wrong. I'm a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, not a veterinarian. I treat people, not dogs." The old woman was suddenly unhappy and said, "If you can treat people, you can treat dogs. There is no veterinarian in this town. Little Black is sick. Who do you want me to find?" Looking at the old woman's persistence, Hu Shaoxian covered her mouth and laughed. Qin Haodong said helplessly, "Well, I'll show it." He held the black puppy in his arms and looked at it. After confirming that it was just gastroenteritis, he took out a few silver needles and used green with genuine qi to help it sort out its stomach and intestines. Soon, the black puppy became energetic. The old lady took back the black puppy and said with satisfaction, "Little doctor, your medical skills are good. I will help you publicize it." After that, the old lady didn't mention anything about paying and left with the dog in her arms. Hu Shaoxian laughed so hard that she rocked back and forth. After laughing enough, she said, "Great medical sage, don't get angry. Anyway, it's a business, although I didn't make any money." Qin Haodong raised his hand and slapped her butt. He said in annoyance, "You're such a bad wife. Hurry up and cook for me." Hu Shaoxian glanced at him with her charming eyes and said, "Wait, I'll go buy some vegetables and give you a treat tonight." After that, she turned and left. After a while, Qin Haodong heard a noise outside the door. He opened the door and was immediately petrified. He saw that the door of the clinic was full of people. Some were holding cats, some were holding dogs, and two were holding bird cages. The leader was the old lady who had just held the black puppy. After seeing Qin Haodong, she immediately went forward and said, "Dr. Tang, you cured my little black so quickly. People nearby think that your medical skills are superb and you are a great doctor, so they all brought their pets here to see you and let you check their bodies." Qin Haodong resisted the feeling of collapse in his heart. He took a deep breath and calmed down. He said, "Auntie, I'm really not a veterinarian." The old lady said indifferently, "I know. I know. But your medical skills are better than a veterinarian's. If my little black has any problems in the future, I will come to you." The others also shouted, "Yes, Dr. Tang, there is no veterinarian in this town. Please help my little white. He doesn't like to eat these days and has some diarrhea. Dr. Tang, my Dowdo has been losing hair these days. Is there anything wrong with him? Dr. Tang, my gray wolf has been barking at night these days. Is there anything wrong with you?" Although Qin Haodong was helpless, he could only treat these pets one by one. Under the nourishment of his green with genuine qi, these cats and dogs became very energetic. When Hu Shaoxian came back from shopping and saw Qin Haodong, who had completely become a veterinarian, she almost laughed. She didn't expect that the clinic would become a veterinarian before it was opened. After 2 hours of work, when Qin Haodong had given the last puppy an injection, a middle-aged man finally came over. He stepped forward and asked, "Dr. Tang, I've been having pain in my shoulder recently, and sometimes I feel dizzy. Can you help me?" Seeing that someone finally came to see him, Qin Haodong couldn't help but feel the pulse of the middle-aged man. Soon, he said, "Uncle, this is a typical cervical spondylosis. This is the most initial symptom. If it is more serious, there will be vomiting, numbness of hands and feet, and more serious may cause paralysis." Hearing what he said, the middle-aged man immediately became nervous. "Dr. Tang, can you cure it?" "Of course I can. It's very simple. I'll give you a massage and help you restore the dislocated cervical vertebra." Then, Qin Haodong asked the middle-aged man to lie on the bed next to him. He massaged his shoulders and neck, and then gave him a few injections. 10 minutes later, the middle-aged man got up from the bed, moved his neck, and said in surprise, "Dr. Tang, your medical skills are amazing. My neck not only doesn't hurt now, but I also feel much more energetic." Qin Haodong said, "It's just cervical spondylosis. It's no big deal. But you must pay attention when you go back. Don't lower your head for a long time. Move your cervical vertebra often." After the middle-aged man left, the reputation of the Tangmen Clinic slowly spread in the small town. After that, several more people came to see the doctor. At 5:00 in the afternoon, the clinic was closed. Qin Haodong had been hungry for a day, and his stomach was rumbling. When he walked into the kitchen, a smell of food came to his face. He saw Hu Shaoxian wearing a pink suspender nightdress, and her snow-white shoulders were completely exposed to the air. Although he could not see the two proud peaks, the beautiful back and smooth undulating curve were enough to firmly attract his eyes. He didn't know whether it was because he was hungry or because he saw Hu Shaoxian's reaction. He swallowed hard and said, "What delicious food is it? I'm starving." Hu Shaoxian turned her head and looked at him charmingly. "Do you want to eat or eat people?" Qin Haodong said, "Well, of course, I want to eat. Bring the dishes to the table. Let's eat now." Hu Shaoxian put the dishes in the pot on a plate and gave it to Qin Haodong. Then she poured a large bowl of stewed soup in the pot and brought it to the table. "What kind of soup is this? It smells so good." Qin Haodong was thirsty and hungry. He immediately turned it into a bowl of soup and quickly ate it up. Hu Shaoxian looked at him with a strange face and said, "How is it? Is it delicious?" Qin Haodong didn't notice her expression. He filled another bowl and said, "It's delicious. It's really delicious. Drink more if you like it." Hu Shaoxian filled another bowl of soup and put it in front of him. Qin Haodong didn't stand on ceremony. He drank up the soup in the bowl quickly. After 3 bowls of soup, the feeling of hunger finally eased a little. He wiped his mouth, looked at the dishes on the table and asked, "Shaoxian, aren't you not good at cooking meat? Why did you make so many meat dishes? You've worked too hard today, so I'll make it up to you." Hu Shaoxian's face showed a little foxy smile again. Qin Haodong picked up the chopsticks, picked up a piece of meat in front of him, put it in his mouth and said, "It tastes good. It's very chewy. What kind of meat is this?" Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "Can't you tell? Try another piece." Qin Haodong thought the taste of the dish was good. He ate a few more mouthfuls and said, "I still can't tell. Tell me, what kind of dish is this?" Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, "This is stir-fried penis." Stir-fried penis. Qin Haodong suddenly felt awkward. He pointed to another dish and asked, "What about this?" "It's the same. It's also stir-fried penis, but it's a bullwhip." "What's this?" Qin Haodong pointed to the next dish and asked. "It's stir-fried penis, but it's a donkey whip, what about this? Sheep whip, Chin Haodong was going crazy. He didn't say anything until the last dish. Is this also stir-fried penis? No, it's not. Chin Haodong finally breathed a sigh of relief, but then he heard Hu Shaoxian say, this is stir-fried kidney. Am I so weak? Chin Haodong suddenly had a bad feeling. He pointed to the pot of soup and said, what's this soup made of? Hu Shaoxian said with a smile, this is a man's treasure, invincible 10-whip soup. Chin Haodong almost vomited blood. He cried with annoyance, what are you going to do? Hu Shaoxian said with a playful smile, nothing. You've been with me these days, but you haven't had any reaction. I think you must have been drained by that neon woman, so I want to nourish you. Chin Haodong felt that this little fox was playing tricks on him. What's wrong with me? Don't you like me? Hu Shaoxian said and stuck to Chin Haodong's side. She said coquettishly, when I was buying vegetables in the market just now, the vegetable sellers all said that I was a considerate and good woman. They all said that it's your blessing to marry me. Chin Haodong felt like he was about to collapse. Such a beautiful woman bought so many unique dishes in the market. Others must have guessed how weak her man was. Hu Shaoxian put her arms around his neck and said, little man, eat it. I made it for you. How can you nourish your body without eating it? After knowing what it was, Chin Haodong could no longer raise his appetite. He just ate 2 bowls of rice. Hu Shaoxian sat on Chin Haodong's thigh again and put her hands around his neck. The little fox seemed to have a special fondness for this position. She bit his ear and whispered, what's wrong? Little man? Don't you think the dishes I cook are delicious? If you don't like stir-fried ones, how about I change them to braised ones tomorrow? Or you can just steam it. Chin Haodong had just eaten 3 bowls of soup and so many stir-fried whipped flowers. Facing such a fox, he suddenly felt a fire rising in his lower abdomen. He quickly said, I'm full. Now I'm going to take a bath. After that, he rushed into the bathroom as if he was escaping. Hu Shaoxian's proud laughter came behind him. In the bathroom, Chin Haodong turned on the nozzle, adjusted the water temperature to the lowest, and poured it from head to toe. He wanted to extinguish the fire in his heart through cold water. However, 10 minutes later, he found that he still underestimated the power of the soup. A certain part of his body was like a stimulant. No matter how he washed it with cold water, it was still valiant and had no intention of compromise. Chapter 404. Chin Haodong couldn't help but have a headache. If he went out like this, he would be laughed at by the little fox. No, he had to subdue it. After that, he took a shower with cold water, ran the mental cultivation method, and thought about unhappy things. In a word, he used all kinds of martial arts. Finally, after half an hour, he got some effect and made the high head lower. He breathed a long sigh of relief. After such a long bath, Chin Haodong was ready to go out, but he suddenly found that there was no towel in the bathroom. What should he do? He couldn't wipe it with his own clothes, could he? He just ran in a hurry and didn't bring a change of clothes at all. If this set of clothes got wet, he wouldn't be able to wear it. Moreover, this set of clothes was covered with all kinds of hair and smells from holding the cat and the dog today. If he used it to wipe his body, even he would hate it. He had no choice but to call Hu Shaoxian. So he opened the bathroom door a crack and shouted to the outside, Fox, find me a towel. Wait a minute, I'll be right there. Hu Shaoxian joked and quickly took a new towel to the bathroom. Little man, why did you take so long? It's not your style. Did you do something inappropriate for children in there? It's none of your business. I love to be clean. Chin Haodong stretched out an arm from the bathroom and said, Give me the towel. Hu Shaoxian put the towel on his arm, but grabbed his hand. She stretched out a finger and scratched his palm. She said with a smile, Sir, do you want me to provide you with a more comprehensive service? This fox, she came to tease me again. For a moment, Qin Haodong was annoyed to find that under Hu Xiaoxian's scratching, his previous efforts of half an hour were destroyed, and a certain part of his body was aroused again. Seeing that he didn't speak, Hu Xiaoxian said softly, "Little man, why don't you speak? Are you embarrassed? Then I'll take it that you acquiesce. I'm coming in." As she spoke, she was about to rush into the bathroom. Qin Haodong was shocked. He couldn't let this fox see him like this, or he would be embarrassed. "You can't come in." He quickly withdrew his arm and stepped back, trying to close the bathroom door. However, the floor tiles of the bathroom were not slippery at all. In addition, he had just used too much shampoo, and he was too flustered. At this time, his feet slipped, and his whole body fell to the ground. With a snap, Qin Haodong's body fell hard on the ground. Fortunately, he had genuine qi to protect his body. Otherwise, he would have broken his bones and tendons. Holy sh*t. Qin Haodong's heart was filled with dark clouds. He was the reincarnation of Emperor Greenwood. How could he be scared by a woman and fall to the ground? If this was spread to the cultivation world, he would be laughed at. "Little man, how are you? Are you all right?" Hu Xiaoxian was also shocked by his fall. She opened the door of the bathroom with a whoosh. At this time, Qin Haodong was slumped on the ground. His whole body was stretched out. When he saw Hu Xiaoxian, his whole expression instantly froze. Then his eyes moved to a certain part of his body. He fell so hard, but it was still upright, and there was no cover. It was so unscrupulously exposed to the air. Seeing that Qin Haodong was not injured, Hu Xiaoxian was relieved. Then her eyes also moved there, and she also saw something she should not see. Even though she kept teasing Qin Haodong, after seeing this scene, she also blushed and quickly looked away. "Why did you just fall down like that? If you want me to accompany you, just say it. Why are you in such a hurry?" Hu Xiaoxian said, and went forward to help Qin Haodong up. "I'm fine. Don't come over." Qin Haodong quickly stretched out one hand to stop her, and at the same time, reached down with the other hand, trying to block there. But then he found that in this state, one hand was not enough. "Are you sure you don't want me to help you?" Hu Xiaoxian said with a faint smile. No, you go out first. I can get up by myself." As Qin Haodong said, he picked up the towel that had fallen next to him and covered the key part. Then he felt a little relieved. Hu Xiaoxian's eyes flashed a trace of charm. She stretched out her bright red tongue and gently swept it over her lips. This seemingly simple action was full of endless temptation at this moment, and even made the position of the towel suddenly rise. "Little man, it seems that the 10 penises soup works well. I'll cook it for you tomorrow." After that, she glanced at the position where the towel was, and then winked at Qin Haodong. Then she turned around and walked out of the bathroom. Looking at the abnormally protruding towel, Qin Haodong wanted to cry but had no tears. "I have raised you for more than 20 years. You are so disappointing." When he was about to get up from the ground, he saw the door of the bathroom open, and Hu Xiaoxian came in from the outside again. "What are you going to do?" Qin Haodong asked nervously. "Are you mistaken? You are a man, and I am a woman. I should be the one who is nervous, okay?" After Hu Xiaoxian said that, she took out a new set of pajamas and put them on the hanger next to her. Then she turned around and went out. Qin Haodong stood up and quickly locked the bathroom door. This woman was so torturous. He took a cold shower again and changed into the pajamas sent by Hu Xiaoxian. Then he walked out of the bathroom. As soon as he went out, he saw Hu Xiaoxian coming over with a set of clothes. After seeing Qin Haodong, her eyes inadvertently glanced at him, and then she said with her beautiful eyes, "It's my turn to wash. Do you want to wash again? Hurry up and wash your clothes." Qin Haodong said and left in a hurry. For some reason, when he looked at this seductress a few more times, he had a feeling of desire. Sitting on the sofa, he originally wanted to watch TV for a while, but the sound of water coming from the bathroom seemed to put 25 little mice in his heart. There was a feeling of hundreds of claws scratching his heart, and he always inadvertently thought of Hu Xiaoxian's plump and attractive body. Thinking of his constant embarrassment in the past 2 days, he couldn't help secretly thinking that if this little seductress dared to provoke him again, he would really do it on the spot. Otherwise, he would not be able to raise his head in the future. After a long time, the sound of water stopped, and Hu Xiaoxian came out of the bathroom. She came to Qin Haodong and raised her hand to tidy up her wet hair, showing her graceful figure. Qin Haodong swallowed his saliva again and forced his eyes to move to the TV, although he did not know what was playing on the TV at all. Hu Xiaoxian sat beside him and reached out to hold his arm. Her whole body was tightly attached to him, and she said in a charming voice, "Little man, after the bath, shall we go to bed?" Okay. Qin Haodong turned off the TV. Anyway, he did not know what was playing. He turned his head and was about to go to the bedroom. However, Hu Xiaoxian grabbed him and said in a sweet voice, "I'm too tired to walk. You carry me there." As she said, she gently jumped into Qin Haodong's arms and hooked her hands around his neck. Her charming cheeks and large areas of the scenery in front of her chest were directly exposed to Qin Haodong's eyes. The flames in Qin Haodong's body rose again, and he said fiercely, "Little seductress, if you seduce me like this again, believe it or not, I will eat you directly. Yes, if you have the ability, you can eat it. I'm not afraid of you." Hu Xiaoxian said, kissed him gently, and said with a chuckle again, "I also want to see how powerful the 10 whip soup is, and whether it can make up for your deficiency." "That's what you said. Don't blame me." "Yes, I said it. I don't know if you dare to do it." Hu Xiaoxian looked at Qin Haodong with watery eyes, and somehow there was a trace of playfulness in her burning eyes. Today, he was despised again. Qin Haodong's heart suddenly rose. He strode to the bedroom with Hu Xiaoxian in his arms, threw her on the bed, and then jumped on her. The reason why he had been avoiding feelings with Hu Xiaoxian before was that he was afraid of wronging this beautiful and intelligent woman. At this moment, Hu Xiaoxian had completely expressed her feelings, and he did not need to keep wronging himself. So he made up his mind to eat Hu Xiaoxian today, so that the little seductress would not continue to provoke him. However, soon he let out a cry of surprise, jumped up from the bed, raised his hand and pointed at Hu Xiaoxian, You. His face was full of chagrin, shock, anger, and reluctance. In short, his expression was extremely complicated, and his face was a little distorted. Hu Xiaoxian giggled and said, "Little man, why don't you eat it?" Qin Haodong was about to go crazy. He shouted angrily, "You're obviously on your period, but you still gave me 10 whip soup. You did it on purpose, didn't you?" At this moment, he realized that everything Hu Xiaoxian did was a prank. First, she teased him, and then she poured a basin of cold water on him. She was really a seductress who ate people without spitting out the bones. Hu Xiaoxian pulled him back to the bed, stroked his chest and said, "Don't be angry. It's not my fault. You didn't eat it when I gave it to you before. You had to eat it at this time." Qin Haodong said angrily, "But what do you mean by giving me so many things to eat tonight?" Hu Xiaoxian said with a smile, "Nothing. I'm just afraid that you'll be drained by that Japanese woman, so I gave you some food." "I don't believe you," Qin Haodong said and turned around directly, no longer looking at Hu Xiaoxian. "Don't be angry. I'll apologize to you, okay?" Hu Xiaoxian said as she leaned on him again and whispered in his ear, "Is it very uncomfortable?" Qin Haodong said angrily, "What do you think? In fact, my period just came when I was taking a bath. You can't blame me for that." Hu Xiaoxian breathed in his ear and said, "How about I use other ways to help you solve it?" "Other ways?" Qin Haodong was slightly stunned. He immediately understood and said quickly, "Madam, you'll do me a great favor if you just go to sleep." "Well, don't be angry," Hu Xiaoxian said and lay down on the bed obediently. Then she said, do you still want to drink the 10-whip soup tomorrow night? God knew how Qin Haodong survived the night with Hu Shaoxian, such a seductress. In short, the next day he had 2 panda eyes and looked a little depressed. After breakfast, the clinic opened again. With the effect of yesterday's advertisement, there were many more people coming to see a doctor today. No matter what kind of disease these people had, Qin Haodong could cure them with medicine, and the fee was very low, which made his name spread quickly in the Golden Triangle. In less than 3 days, people in the entire Golden Triangle knew that there was a magic doctor here who could cure all kinds of diseases. For a time, people who came here to see a doctor rushed to see a doctor, and there was a long line in front of the Tangmen Clinic. Chapter 405. On the morning of the 5th day, as soon as the clinic opened, a group of armed soldiers rushed in and divided into 2 lines. Then a middle-aged man in his 40s came in. The middle-aged man was a Huaxia man, wearing a Tang suit, which was very rare here. He looked extraordinary, but his right leg was a little lame when he walked. Seeing these people, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian looked at each other. In the Golden Triangle, there was no other family except General Li Site's people who could set up such a battle array. The purpose of opening a clinic here was to attract Li Site's attention. They didn't expect that they would come so soon. Qin Haodong stood up and said to the middle-aged man, "Sir, what can I do for you in my clinic?" The middle-aged man looked at Qin Haodong and found that he was only in his early 20s. He frowned slightly and said, "Of course I'm here to see a doctor." "Where's the doctor here?" Qin Haodong said, "I'm the doctor here." The middle-aged man looked at him again and said, "It's said that there is a doctor in the Tang family clinic who can cure all kinds of diseases. Is it you?" Qin Haodong smiled slightly and said, "I dare not say that I can cure all kinds of diseases, but I'm the only doctor in this clinic." "Then why don't you take a look at me?" "What's wrong with me?" The middle-aged man said in an extremely overbearing manner, "If you take a good look, you will be rewarded. If not, I'll tear down your clinic." "Then please sit down." Qin Haodong asked the middle-aged man to sit in front of the consultation table. He reached out to feel his pulse and then said, "Your body is generally good, but because of a long-term irregular diet, there are some stomach problems, but it's not too serious. It's just chronic gastritis. I'll prescribe some medicine for you later. You'll be cured in 2 or 3 days." The middle-aged man nodded with satisfaction. He didn't expect that although Qin Haodong looked very young, his medical skills were really good. He could see his problem at a glance. Qin Haodong said again, "In addition, your right leg was shot 10 years ago. Later, it was not treated very well, so there was a lame problem. But it's not a big deal for me. It's easy to cure." "What? You said my leg can be cured?" At this time, the middle-aged man was no longer calm, and his face was full of shock. The young man in front of him not only knew the time of his injury, but also said that his lame leg could be cured, which was completely beyond his expectation. After he was injured, he had visited many famous doctors all over the years and seen many famous surgeons, but all of them said that the muscle tissue in his leg was injured and had already shown signs of atrophy. It was fortunate that he could maintain his current condition for the rest of his life. There was no possibility of a complete cure. Qin Haodong said, "Of course, it's not a serious matter. It's only a matter of minutes to cure it." The middle-aged man raised his hand and said, "Of course, it's not a big deal. If you take me as a joke, I'll shoot you." Qin Haodong's expression was still calm. He said, "I don't care how distinguished your identity is. But those who come to me are my patients. I never joke with patients, at least not with their illness." Seeing that Qin Haodong was so serious, the middle-aged man's eyes suddenly lit up with expectation. He said, "Well, show me now." Qin Haodong asked the middle-aged man to lie on the bed next to him, rolled up his trousers, and pinched his shrunken leg. He said, "Your operation was not very successful. Although the bullet was taken out, it hurt the surrounding tissue, which led to meridian atrophy. If you don't treat it as soon as possible, it will only get worse and worse. In a few years, you can only live in a wheelchair." As he spoke, he inserted the silver needles in his hand into the acupoints of the calf one by one, using the rejuvenative needle to help him repair the damaged muscle tissue and dredge the blocked meridians. The middle-aged man felt a warmth coming from his leg, and then he felt unprecedentedly comfortable. About 10 minutes later, Chin Haodong took back all the silver needles, patted his calf and said, "Get up, your leg is healed." So fast. Although he felt that Chin Haodong's needle technique was not ordinary, the middle-aged man still couldn't believe that his leg was cured so quickly. He turned over and sat up from the bed. First, he checked his calf. He was shocked to find that his right calf, which had been obviously atrophied before and thinner than his left calf, had completely recovered. There was no difference between it and his left leg. He didn't bother to put on his shoes and jumped out of the bed barefoot. He walked a few steps on the ground and found that his leg was indeed not lame. Then he jumped a few more times and felt a steady and powerful feeling in his calf. Well, in just 10 minutes, his leg was completely cured by Chin Haodong. "Dr. Tang, you are really a miracle doctor." The middle-aged man's face was full of excitement and joy. He had completely given up hope after being lame for 10 years, but today he had completely recovered. He reached out and took out 2 stacks of green US dollars from his pocket. He put them directly on Chin Haodong's table and said, "Dr. Tang, this is your consultation fee." The overall economy of Burma was still very backward. These 2 stacks of US dollars were enough for ordinary people to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. However, Chin Haodong didn't have much reaction. He took the money and handed it back to Hu Shaoxian next to him. The middle-aged man said again, "Dr. Tang, let me introduce myself. I'm Han Baochang, the housekeeper of General Li Site. I heard that there is a great miracle doctor in our Golden Triangle these days, so I came here today to invite you to treat the general's son." Chin Haodong said, "But I still have many patients here. Can you wait until I finish treating these patients?" Han Baochang said, "Dr. Tang, there are no other patients here except me. The young master's illness can't be delayed. You can pack up now and go with me." As the housekeeper of General Li Site, he was absolutely above tens of thousands of people in the Golden Triangle. Wherever he went, he could do whatever he wanted. Just because Chin Haodong cured his leg, he spoke so politely. If it were other doctors, they would have tied him up and taken him away. Chin Haodong took a look outside the door and was surprised to find that it was empty. The patients who had just started to line up had all run away. It seemed that Li Site was really powerful here. Seeing his people coming to the clinic, no one dared to go forward. "Well, please lead the way, housekeeper Han." Chin Haodong's purpose in coming to Burma was to get close to General Li Site. Time was running out, so he didn't say anything more. He went out with Han Baochang and got on the military green off-road vehicle outside the door. The road conditions in Burma were really bad. There were potholes everywhere. No wonder people here liked to drive off-road vehicles. If a sports car was left here, it would be completely scrapped before it could go far. About half an hour later, Han Baochang's off-road vehicle drove to a military camp at the foot of a mountain. It seemed that this was General Li Site Station. The military camp was very large, almost covering the entire foot of the mountain. There were many guards at the gate of the camp, all of whom were armed. In the depths of the camp, near the foot of the mountain, there were several luxurious villas. Chin Haodong and Han Baochang got out of the car and stepped into the villa. They came to a very luxuriously decorated reception room. After entering the door, Chin Haodong found that there were 7 or 8 doctors in addition to him. These people had different skin colors and spoke different languages. It seemed that Li Site had invited doctors from all over the world. After asking Chin Haodong to sit down, Han Baochang said to the people present, "Everyone, General Li Site has invited you to treat our young master. No matter what the result is, he will pay $10,000 for the treatment. If anyone can cure our young master, the general said that he will immediately reward him with $10 million. After hearing this, the expressions of the people in the room changed. $10 million was not a small amount. Even in the economically developed Europe and the United States, it was enough for them to live comfortably for the rest of their lives. Qin Haodong thought to himself that it was a big deal to give $10,000 as long as one was invited. It seemed that Li Site had really put a lot of effort into his son's illness. Han Baocheng continued, "Everyone, please get ready. I'm going to see the young master now." After that, he left the reception room with his people and went upstairs. After Han Baocheng left, everyone fixed their eyes on Qin Haodong, for no other reason than that he was too young. A bald white doctor looked at Qin Haodong with disdain and said, "Are you also a doctor?" He was Gulet, a famous medical doctor in M country. He had done a lot of research on psychiatry and was a medical expert invited by Li Site. Qin Haodong's English was good. He said, "Of course." Gulet asked again, "Are you from Neon?" Qin Haodong shook his head and said, "I'm from Huaxia." Huaxia. Gulet immediately laughed. His smile was full of disdain. He shook his head and said, "Neon has learned a lot of our medical skills over the years. If you were a Neon person, I would believe that you would know some medical skills. But the Huaxia people are really inferior." At this time, another white doctor with pigtails said, "Gulet, you're right. Huaxia people haven't been exposed to Western medicine for a long time. They haven't learned the essence of Western medicine at all. Their medical skills are still very backward." He was Fernan, a medical expert from the United Kingdom. He had done a lot of research on human head diseases. Looking at the two arrogant white people, Qin Haodong said, "You think too much. I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner." "What? Chinese medicine practitioner?" Gulet and Fernan were stunned for a moment, then they laughed wildly. Gulet said, "That's so funny. Can Chinese medicine practitioners cure diseases? How dare they come here to cheat money?" Fernan said with a smile, "You're right. Chinese medicine practitioners are liars. It's their specialty to cheat money." Qin Haodong frowned. This kind of self-righteous guy was really annoying. At this time, an Asian doctor next to him said, "Chinese medicine practitioners are really not good. They only learned a little from our Koryo medicine and have squandered it all these years. So now Chinese medicine practitioners can't cure diseases at all." The one who spoke was a doctor from Koryo named Piao Zhenghuan. Qin Haodong was getting angrier and angrier. It was okay for these two ignorant white people to talk nonsense because they didn't know Chinese medicine practitioners. But the Koryo medicine practitioners in front of him were too shameless. They had learned their medical skills from Huaxia, but they were ungrateful and claimed that Chinese medicine practitioners came from Koryo medicine practitioners. "What did you say?" Qin Haodong looked at Piao Zhenghuan and said in a cold voice. "What? Didn't you hear me clearly? I said that Chinese medicine practitioners came from our Koryo medicine practitioners, but they only learned a little. Now they don't even have much left. It's really a disgrace to our Koryo medicine practitioners." Before Piao Zhenghuan finished speaking, he suddenly found a huge fist in front of him, and then he was punched to the ground. Chapter 406. "Bastard, how dare you hit me!" Piao Zhenghuan was furious. He got up from the ground and was about to argue with Qin Haodong, but he was knocked to the ground again by another fist. Qin Haodong nodded with satisfaction when he saw the two panda eyes on Piao Zhenghuan's face. That was symmetrical. Everyone was stunned when they saw Qin Haodong hit Piao Zhenghuan. Was he still a doctor? Was he still the weak Huaxia people they knew? Before everyone could come to their senses, Qin Haodong came to Gulet again, grabbed his collar, and slapped him twice. As a white man, Gulet had a great advantage in terms of size. He was 190 meters tall and weighed more than 100 kilograms. But he was like a little sheep under Qin Haodong's grasp, unable to resist at all. After dealing with Gulet, he walked towards Fernan. Fernan was relatively stronger, and he had practiced boxing for a few days. When he saw Qin Haodong coming over, he immediately put on a boxing posture, but before he could punch, Qin Haodong punched him in the nose. His nose and mouth were bleeding, and he fell to the ground on his back. Barbaric, you Huaxia people are too barbaric. Gulet roared angrily. Qin Haodong grabbed a tissue and wiped his hands. He glanced at him and said, "You people from M country have the nerve to call others barbaric. Have you forgotten how your land came to be? You killed tens of millions of Native Americans and you still have the nerve to call others barbaric." Fernand got up from the ground, wiped the blood on his face and cried, "Huaxia man, don't forget you're a doctor. Although your Huaxia Kung Fu is very good, it doesn't represent your medical skills." Piao Zhenghuan also cried, "That's right. You used force, which just shows that your medical skills are not good." Qin Haodong sneered and said, "I hit you because you have a dirty mouth. Chinese medicine belongs to the Huaxia people. It's not something that anyone can insult. As for medical skills, I'll show you what real Chinese medicine is later." Gulet and the others still wanted to say something, but when they met Qin Haodong's cold eyes, they immediately shut their mouths in fear. This Huaxia man was completely different from the one they had seen before. Not only did he not care about his reputation, but he was also too cruel and violent. They secretly swore in their hearts that after General Li Site's son was cured, they would definitely let General Li Site teach this barbaric Huaxia man a lesson. Since they all stopped talking, Qin Haodong sat back in his seat. After seeing his power, everyone else in the room kept quiet out of fear. No one dared to speak again. It was extremely quiet for a while. After a while, Han Baochang came back. He was surprised to see Gulet and the others in such a miserable state. He asked, "Gentlemen, what happened?" Before they could speak, Qin Haodong said with a smile, "These doctors admire Huaxia Kung Fu, so I just practiced with them." Han Baochang immediately understood what was going on, but he didn't care about those people. He had a good impression of Qin Haodong, who had cured his leg, so he didn't care about it anymore. He said, "Everyone, come with me. Let's see the young master now." After saying that, he led everyone out of the living room and to a room on the second floor. After entering the room, Qin Haodong saw that the setting in the room was very special. There was a huge fiberglass wall facing the door. The facilities in the room were even simpler. There was only one bed, and a young man in his 20s was sitting on the bed. He should be Li Site's son, Li Pingan. Li Pingan wasn't too tall, but he was quite strong. His facial features were very good, and he looked kind of handsome. Seeing those people coming in, his eyes were very calm, as if he had been used to this kind of scene. The room was about 50 square meters, and the fiberglass wall divided the room into two parts. Li Pingan's room was about 30 square meters, and there was another 20 square meters outside, where there were more than a dozen chairs. Han Baochang asked everyone to sit down and said, "As you can see, this is our young master Li Pingan. Let me briefly explain his condition. 3 years ago, our young master suddenly began to go crazy. Once he had an attack, he didn't recognize anyone, and he even beat himself. Recently, his condition has become more and more serious. It used to be once in 3 months, then once in 2 months, and now several times a day. That's all. Let's start the treatment. Who's first?" "I'll go first." Fernand was the first to stand up. He stared at Qin Haodong with hatred. "When I cure Li Pingan, I'll ask General Li Site to skin you alive." He said to Han Baochang, "Butler, where's the examination data of young Master Li?" "Here it is." Han Baochang waved his hand, and someone immediately sent a pile of examination results to Fernand. Li Pingan had done all the necessary examinations over the years, including brain CT, cerebral blood flow chart, and MRI. All the examinations that could be done were done. Fernand took the documents and opened them one by one. The more he read, the more serious he became. Finally, a knot appeared on his forehead. It wasn't that Li Pingan's examination results were very serious, but there was no problem at all. According to the information in his hand, Li Pingan was a very healthy person, and there was no problem at all. But Han Baochang had just said that Li Pingan was indeed sick, and it was very serious. However, he couldn't even find the cause, let alone cure it. Li Pingan had invited countless famous doctors over the years, and Han Baochang had already guessed the result when he saw Fernand's expression. He said, "Dr. Fernand, do you have any solution?" Fernand's face turned red. He said, "Butler, there's really nothing I can do, step aside if you can't." Since he couldn't cure Li Pingan's disease, Han Baochang didn't need to be polite to him anymore. He walked to the side and said to the others, "Who's next?" "I'll do it." Goulet stood up proudly and said, "Young master is suffering from a mental illness. It's impossible to find out the problem with ordinary methods." Han Baochang's expression changed slightly, and he said, "So, Dr. Goulet has a solution?" "Of course." Goulet said proudly, "I'm a famous psychiatrist, and I'm proficient in hypnosis. I've cured countless patients over the years, and I believe that young master's spirit will be restored soon." Han Baochang said, "Well, please ask Dr. Goulet to do it. As long as you can cure our young master, the general will reward you greatly. Don't worry, butler. As long as I treat him once, you'll see the effect immediately." Goulet looked back at Qin Haodong and said arrogantly, "Boy, now I'll show you what science is, what Western medicine is, and what hypnosis is." Qin Haodong smiled at him, then raised his hands and moved his wrists casually. Goulet was startled. The scene of him being beaten came back to him. This Huaxia doctor was so violent that he would beat him up without saying a word. "Why are you being so fierce? After I cure the young master, I will definitely let General Li Sight shoot you." Thinking of this, he stepped into the room where Li Pingan was. As soon as he entered the room, someone immediately locked the door from the outside. "Hello, young master. I'm Dr. Goulet from M Country. I'm a doctor of medicine, and I'm best at psychiatry. Now I'll treat you." After Goulet finished speaking, Li Pingan still looked numb and didn't respond. Goulet was not discouraged. He had seen many mental patients with dull expressions. He immediately took out a crystal pendant from his pocket and shook it in front of Li Pingan. "Young master, please look here, look here, look here." His voice was low and extremely bewitching. But when he tried his best to hypnotize Li Pingan, a huge fist appeared in front of him. It was Li Pingan. Li Pingan's eyes were filled with a faint red light, and he became restless. His fists were like raindrops, hitting Goulet's face. "Stop, stop. I'm a doctor, and I'm here to treat you." No matter how Goulet shouted, Li Pingan was not affected at all. He punched and kicked him desperately, as if he had met the enemy who killed his father. "Help, help. Help!" Goulet realized that it was useless to beg for mercy, so he hurried to the door. But Li Pingan became more and more violent. He had no intention of letting him go. He chased him all the way until Goulet screamed in pain. Poor Goulet screamed and tried his best to protect his vital parts. He didn't dare to fight back. If he dared to touch a finger of Li Pingan's, he might not be able to leave the military camp alive. Another doctor from M Country said to Han Baochang, "Butler, let Dr. Goulet out, or he'll be beaten to death." Han Baochang said blankly, "You can't open the door, or the young master will be in trouble." The doctor said, "But," Han Baochang said, "No buts. The young master's safety is the most important thing. Besides, the young master's illness only lasts for 3 to 5 minutes, and he doesn't have anything with him. He won't die." At this time, everyone realized that it was not that easy to get the $10,000 from General Li Sight. In particular, Fernand secretly rejoiced that he didn't walk into the glass house just now. Otherwise, he would end up like Goulet. After being beaten for a full 5 minutes, Li Pingan finally calmed down. He kicked Goulet away and sat back on the bed, panting heavily. Soon, he returned to his silent self. At this time, Han Baochang waved his hand. Two servants opened the door and dragged out Gullit, who was almost dying. At this moment, Gullit looked incomparably miserable. His bald head was full of bumps, almost like Buddha. He looked like Buddha. His face was swollen like a pig's head. Even his mother wouldn't be able to recognize him if she saw him. Seeing this situation, the others revealed a look of fear in their eyes. Who would dare to treat such a violent patient? They were afraid that before they could cure the patient, they would be beaten to death. The most important thing was that Gullit was the son of General Li Sight, so he couldn't fight back when he was beaten. Han Baocheng glanced at the crowd and said, "Who's next?" No one dared to say anything. After all, Gullit's miserable face was right there. After waiting for a long time, no one volunteered. Han Baocheng pointed at Pu Jinghuan and said, "You." Pu Jinghuan trembled with fear. Li Pingan seemed to have practiced kung fu before. His attacks were so heavy that even Gullit, who was tall and strong, was beaten like that. Pu Jinghuan would be beaten to death if he went in. He said embarrassedly, "Butler, I can treat him, but can we think of something? For example, we can tie the young master up first." Chapter 407. How dare you? Han Baocheng's face darkened and he said coldly, "You want to tie up the young master? Do you want to die?" Piao Jinghuan was so scared that he almost wet his pants. He said in a trembling voice, "I'm a doctor. I can't feel the pulse for the young master at all. Why don't you let someone else do it first?" "That's you. Cut the crap." Han Baocheng pushed Piao Jinghuan to the door and said, "Don't worry. The young master won't have another attack within 2 hours. Hurry up." Piao Jinghuan breathed a sigh of relief. He opened the door and walked in, trembling. After entering the door, he saw that Li Pingan didn't have any reaction, so he calmed down a little. "Young master, I'm a doctor from Koryo. Please allow me to feel your pulse." He reached out to Li Pingan's wrist while staring at Li Pingan's eyes. He was afraid that the young master would suddenly become violent and beat him into a pig's head. Fortunately, as Han Baocheng said, Li Pingan's mood was much more stable. He didn't have any reaction until he finished feeling the pulse. He took back his hand and turned to Han Baocheng, who was outside the door, and said, "Butler, I suspect that the young master has lost his soul." Han Baocheng said, "Can it be cured?" Piao Jinghuan said, "It's hard to say. You can give him acupuncture first. If the effect is good, you can prescribe some medicine for him." Han Baocheng nodded and said, "Okay, we'll do as you say." Piao Jinghuan turned around and saw that Li Pingan was still in a stable mood. He was completely relieved. As Han Baocheng said, the young master wouldn't have another attack within 2 hours. In order to get the reward of $10 million, he quickly took out the silver needles and started to perform acupuncture on Li Pingan. Unexpectedly, as soon as he took a silver needle in his hand, a red light flashed in Li Pingan's eyes again. Li Pingan suddenly grabbed Piao Jinghuan's wrist, grabbed the silver needle, and stabbed it hard into Piao Jinghuan's arm. "Ah!" Piao Jinghuan let out a heart-wrenching scream. Li Pingan did not know any acupuncture techniques, so he directly pierced the entire needle into his arm. The pain was so excruciating that it went deep into his bones. But the nightmare had just begun. Li Pingan directly stepped on Piao Jinghuan, then grabbed the needle bag next to him and pierced all the silver needles into his body one by one. Seeing this miserable situation, the others had goosebumps all over their bodies. It was really too miserable. Even Gullit, who had just recovered from the shock, rejoiced that he wasn't a TKM doctor. Just the thought of such a long needle stabbing into his flesh was painful. Han Baocheng sighed and murmured, "It seems that the young master's illness is getting worse." Finally, after Li Pingan inserted all the silver needles into Pu Jinghuan's body, the red light in his eyes slowly faded, and he returned to normal. Han Baocheng waved his hand, and 2 servants went in to take Pu Jinghuan out. As soon as they touched his arm, he screamed like a pig being slaughtered. He was like a hedgehog, with silver needles all over his body. He couldn't be touched anywhere. In the end, the two servants grabbed his ankles and directly dragged him out of the room. Han Baocheng didn't look at Pu Jinghuan again. He turned to the rest of the doctors and asked, "Who's next?" These people were now completely scared. Seeing that the two doctors who went in to diagnose were almost killed by Li Pingan, they suddenly lost their courage and lowered their heads one by one. Fernan, who had been watching coldly, seized the opportunity and said, "Butler, that Huaxia boy just said that his Chinese medicine is very good. Why don't we let him have a try?" Han Baocheng nodded. He also thought that Qin Haodong was the only doctor they invited this time, so he stepped forward and said, "Dr. Tang, what do you think?" When Fernan and the others were waiting to see Qin Haodong make a fool of himself, Qin Haodong stood up, looked around and said, "You're all useless. How dare you call yourself an expert?" Goulet had just come to himself and said with a lisp, "Huaxia boy, if you can cure the young master, then we'll talk." Pu Jinghuan, who was pulling out the silver needles from his body one by one, also said with gritted teeth, "Yes, if you can, go in and have a try." Since Qin Haodong had cured his leg, Han Baocheng was very confident in his medical skills. He said with hope, "Dr. Tang, do you think the young master can be cured?" Qin Haodong said, "It's not a problem at all in front of Chinese medicine. It's very easy." Then he went straight to the glass door, opened the door and walked in. The doctors who stayed outside looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with astonishment. Was this young man from Huaxia crazy or blind? Didn't he see the miserable look of the two people just now? Could he really cure the disease that even the world-class experts couldn't? How could it be possible? The two doctors here had some knowledge of Chinese medicine, but they didn't believe that Qin Haodong, who was so young, could have such high medical skills, let alone that he could cure Li Pingan's disease. Fernan looked at Qin Haodong's back, his eyes full of schadenfreude. He kept praying in his heart, praying that God would let Li Pingan teach this arrogant Huaxia man a lesson. It would be better if he could kill him directly. But he was somewhat disappointed. It seemed that God didn't hear his prayers. Li Pingan looked normal and there was no sign of him going crazy. Qin Haodong walked in front of Li Pingan, and everyone's eyes were focused on him. They all wanted to see what this Huaxia man could do to cure Li Pingan's strange disease. Under everyone's attention, Qin Haodong first smiled, then raised his hand and suddenly slapped Li Pingan. Li Pingan didn't have any reaction at all. He felt a pain on his face, then his whole body flew out and hit the wall behind him. Everyone was dumbfounded. They didn't understand what this young man was going to do. It was lucky that Li Pingan didn't hit him. How dare he hit Li Pingan? Li Pingan was the son of General Li Site. Goulet and Piao Jinghuan had just been beaten up, but they didn't dare to touch Li Pingan because they knew that they would definitely die. Now this Huaxia man just went up and hit him. Was he really a violent maniac? Han Baocheng was also scared. General Li Site only had one son, and he treasured him very much. If this Huaxia man really hurt him, he would definitely be responsible, and he might even lose his life. Now he didn't care that Qin Haodong had cured his leg injury. He roared crazily outside, "Tang, are you crazy? If you dare to touch the young master again, I promise you that you won't be able to get out." But before he finished speaking, Qin Haodong stepped forward and grabbed Li Pingan. Qin Haodong punched Li Pingan fiercely without any mercy. It was much more serious than when Li Pingan had just beaten Goulet and Piao Jinghuan. "Bastard, you're courting death." Han Baocheng was going crazy. He turned around and shouted crazily at the door, "Guards, guards, come in." Hearing his shout, a group of armed guards immediately rushed over and pointed their black muzzles at Qin Haodong in the room. "Hurry up and rush in. Protect the young master." Han Baocheng roared angrily. At this time, Li Pingan had been beaten black and blue, and his whole body was injured. Although he was strong, he couldn't fight back against Qin Haodong at all. The guards answered and rushed into the room, but the door was locked from the inside by Qin Haodong. They tried several times but couldn't break the bulletproof glass, which even a sniper rifle couldn't penetrate. At this time, Qin Haodong hit Li Pingan's back with his palm. Li Pingan opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Tang, I'm going to kill you. Seeing that the young master was beaten by Qin Haodong, Han Baocheng waved the gun in his hand, but there was nothing he could do. The doctors in the room were completely dumbfounded. No one had expected this to happen. It was so exciting. This Huaxia man actually took the initiative to beat the general's son and made him spit out blood. Some people were gloating, thinking that Qin Haodong was going to die this time. Some people began to be nervous. This was the Golden Triangle of Burma, General Li Site's military camp. Maybe General Li Site would kill them all in a rage. At this time, there was a noisy sound of footsteps outside the door. A man in a general's uniform hurried in from outside. He was the ruler of this military camp and the uncrowned king of the Golden Triangle, General Li Site. After entering the door, he happened to see Li Pingan spit out blood. He immediately shouted at Han Baocheng, "What's going on? Who is beating my son?" General, Han Baocheng really couldn't explain. He wanted to tear Qin Haodong into pieces right now. Okay, I'm done. Qin Haodong clapped his hands, opened the door and walked out of the room. Han Baocheng immediately raised the gun in his hand, pointed at Qin Haodong and cursed, "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." List raised his hand to stop him and said with a cold expression, "Don't worry. Killing him is too easy for this kid. Capture him first, find out who the mastermind is, and then make him suffer a fate worse than death." He was the uncrowned king of the Golden Triangle. He didn't believe that this young man dared to beat his son for no reason. He thought that there must be someone behind this. Han Baocheng put away the gun and waved to the guards behind him. "Did you hear that? Catch him now." The guards answered and immediately rushed to Qin Haodong with the rope. Qin Haodong was smiling and didn't look nervous at all. "All of you, stop." It was Li Pingan who spoke behind Qin Haodong. He slowly stood up, wiped the blood on the corner of his mouth, and said to Li Site, "Dad, you've all misunderstood. This doctor is treating me." As soon as he said that, everyone present opened their mouths in surprise. Was this young master Li brain damaged? He was spitting blood, but he still spoke for this guy. Li Site pulled Li Pingan behind him and said, "Son, I'm here. You don't have to be afraid of anything." Li Pingan said again, "Dad, I'm telling the truth. This doctor is really treating me. I feel much better now." Well. Li Site looked at Li Pingan carefully. Although his son was beaten black and blue, his eyes were clear and his expression was normal. There was no sign of mental disorder. "Son, are you sure?" "I'm very sure. Dr. Tang is really treating me. You can't arrest him, and you should thank Dr. Tang." Seeing that Li Pingan was so serious, Gulet and the others felt like they were going to collapse. Damn it, they were beaten up by Li Pingan when they were treating patients, but Li Pingan beat them up to treat them. How could they live like this? They were all doctors, but why was there such a big gap between them? Li Site turned to Qin Haodong and asked, "Give me an explanation. What the hell is going on?" Chapter 408. Qin Haodong said, "General, your son isn't sick. He's poisoned." Fernan yelled, "That's impossible. I've seen the blood test report. Everything in the young master's blood is normal. There's no poison in it. Now you're saying that he's poisoned? That's not scientific at all." Qin Haodong glanced at him disdainfully and said, "The so-called science of Western medicine is too narrow. The so-called blood test can only detect the poisons that you've registered. It can't detect some unknown poisons at all." List said seriously, "Then tell me, what poison did my son get?" Qin Haodong said, "If I'm not mistaken, young Master Li should have been to a forest before he got sick, right?" List said, "That's right. Pingan likes hunting. He just went hunting in the primeval forest. What's wrong with that? Qin Haodong said, there's a strange creature called the violent blood spider. This spider is very rare, but its poison is very special. After being bitten by this spider, the person will often enter a state of madness. The longer the person is bitten, the more serious the state will be, until he or she becomes completely crazy. List asked, you mean my son was bitten by this spider? Fernan yelled, that's impossible. I've been a doctor for so many years and I've never heard of such a strange spider. It must be a lie made up by you Huaxia people. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Pingan said, Dad, I remember. When I was camping in the forest, I was indeed bitten by a small black spider. But it's normal to be bitten by insects. I didn't care at that time. Qin Haodong said, if it's discovered early, it's really easy to get rid of the poison. You only need to take 2 doses of medicine. But because of these quacks' misdiagnosis, the cause of the disease has been found all these years. Now the poison of the violent blood spider has penetrated deep into the blood. I didn't want to hit the young master just now. I just used a special method to force the poison out of his body. If you don't believe me, you can see the blood he spat out. After that, he waved his hand and pointed. Everyone looked in the direction of his finger. They saw that the pool of blood that Li Pingan had just spat out had turned black and solidified on the ground like glue. The tiles on the ground had become uneven as if they had been corroded by something. It looked very strange. This is indeed a deadly poison. Although General Li Sight did not understand medicine, he still had basic common sense. It was impossible for the blood of a normal person to solidify so quickly when it fell to the ground, let alone corrode the floor tiles. Only highly toxic poison could achieve this effect. In other words, Li Pingan was indeed poisoned, and Dr. Tang wasn't beating him up. He was expelling the poison. He looked back at Li Pingan again. Li Pingan looked much better than before, and there were no signs of him going crazy. At this time, he was sure that Qin Haodong beat him violently just to treat his son, so he said, Dr. Tang, I'm sorry. We misunderstood you. As soon as he said that, he agreed with Qin Haodong's treatment of Li Pingan. Fernan and the others immediately became nervous. They just wanted to cure Li Pingan's illness and then let General Li Sight punish Qin Haodong. Now the whole situation was reversed. They were helpless in the face of this strange disease and were beaten like dogs. However, Qin Haodong beat Li Pingan and detoxified the poison in his body. In this case, would Qin Haodong let General Li Sight kill all of them? With Li Sight's power in the Golden Triangle, killing them was no different than killing chickens. It turned out that they were thinking too much. Qin Haodong didn't take them seriously at all. If they hadn't slandered traditional Chinese medicine, he wouldn't have even been interested in teaching them a lesson. Seeing that Qin Haodong cured his son, Li Sight was very happy. He glanced at Gulit and the others, whose noses and faces were swollen, and said to Han Baochang, since Pingan is cured, double the bonus. Give each of them $20,000 and send them away. Han Baochang agreed and sent Fernan, Gulit and the others out. Li Pingan went to take a shower and change clothes with the help of a servant. Only General Li Sight and Qin Haodong were left in the room. List asked, Dr. Tang, has my son recovered from his illness? Qin Haodong shook his head slightly, your son has been cured for too long. The poison has gone deep into his bone marrow. Although most of the poison has been expelled this time, there is still a small part left. It is estimated that he will relapse in a month. Li Sight was a little nervous and asked, is it serious? It's neither serious nor serious. When the time comes, I will prescribe a medicine for your son to completely remove the toxins in his body. Then, he will completely recover. If he doesn't receive effective treatment, his illness will be even more serious than the first time. In fact, Qin Haodong was fully capable of curing all the toxins in Li Pingan at once, but he didn't do so. If he didn't leave some bargaining chips in his hands, it would be difficult to negotiate with Li Pingan at the moment, and Li Pingan was undoubtedly the best bargaining chip. Zhou Tianhu had been operating in Burma for so many years. He didn't know how deep his relationship with Li Site was, so he had to be careful. Thank you, Dr. Tang. General Li Site didn't have too many doubts. After all, Li Pingan had been sick for so long, and other doctors couldn't even find the cause. He didn't expect this Huaxia doctor to cure the disease completely at once. He said, Dr. Tang, I'll pay you $10 million this time. When Pingan is completely cured, I'll pay you another $20 million. Qin Haodong saw that it was almost time and said, General Li Site, I don't want the medical fee. You just need to promise me one thing. Li Site looked at Qin Haodong in surprise. $30 million was not a small number, but the young man in front of him refused. Tell me what conditions you have. In Burma, there is nothing that I can't do. Qin Haodong said, General, Zhou Tianhu is my enemy. I hope you can help me kill him. Li Site's expression suddenly changed. He didn't expect that the young man would make such a request. Zhou Tianhu was one of the 3 giants in Burma. He couldn't be killed easily. He looked at Qin Haodong fiercely, and a strong momentum suddenly broke out. But Qin Haodong seemed to feel nothing. He still looked calm. Li Site's pupils shrank slightly. Ordinary people might have been scared by his momentum, but it had no effect on the young man in front of him. He could see that this was not an ordinary doctor. He softened his expression and said, I can't do that. You can change it, or I can double your consultation fee. He really didn't want to kill Zhou Tianhu. Although he was the most powerful general in Burma, Zhou Tianhu's men were not weak. If there was a conflict, he would inevitably suffer great losses. More importantly, he had an agreement with the 3 gangs in Burma. The 3 gangs gave him 50% of the profits every year, and he would not easily kill them. If he really killed Zhou Tianhu, it would immediately cause panic in the 3 gangs in Burma, and then he would lose his money. In Burma, although the fist was bigger, the backbone was stronger. But if there was no money, how could he support the army? Although his son's life was more important, Li Site would never do such a thing until the last moment. Qin Haodong didn't expect Li Site to help him kill Zhou Tianhu. He just asked for a high price. He said, General, I can't change the condition. Zhou Tianhu is the person I must kill. But I can take a step back. I don't need you to do anything. I can kill Zhou Tianhu myself and reorganize the Jade Gang. I hope you can agree. That's fine. Li Site agreed without hesitation. It didn't matter to him who the leader of the Jade Gang was. The important thing was to pay him a large amount of US dollars. In addition, Zhou Tianhu was very strong. He didn't think that the young doctor in front of him had the ability to kill him, let alone reorganize the Jade Gang. Well, it's a deal. After getting Li Site's promise, Qin Haodong directly returned to the Tang's clinic. After entering the door, Hu Shaoxian asked, How was it? Did it go well? Qin Haodong said, Very well. I have cured Li Site's son's illness. He also agreed to our condition. He agreed to kill Zhou Tianhu and reorganize the Jade Gang. Give him a reward. Hu Shaoxian hugged Qin Haodong and kissed him hard. You are the man I chose. You are so great. You are taking advantage of me. You can take advantage of me if you can. They talked and laughed for a while. Hu Shaoxian stopped smiling and said seriously, Now we have won the approval of General Li Site. We have successfully taken the first step. The next thing is to kill Zhou Tianhu. Qin Haodong said, It's easy to kill Zhou Tianhu, but it's difficult to reorganize the Jade Gang. Who will be the leader of the Jade Gang after killing him? Do you have a suitable candidate? Hu Shaoxian shook her head and said, No. They told us to find a way by ourselves. Qin Haodong said with annoyance, What can we do? Should I stay and be the leader? Hu Shaoxian threw herself into his arms and said with a smile, I think it's a good idea. You can be the leader, and I can be your wife. Well, I'd better be my doctor. Forget about being the leader. Qin Haodong said, think about it. Do you have a suitable candidate? If you can't, I will transfer someone from the daddy security company. Hu Shaoxian said, let's wait and see. Anyway, we have succeeded in the first step today. I'll make you something delicious tonight. Let's have a good celebration. She enjoyed this time very much. She was Qin Haodong's woman here, and Qin Haodong only belonged to her. Hearing that Hu Shaoxian was going to make delicious food, Qin Haodong immediately became speechless and said, don't make those stir-fried penis flowers and 10 penis soup. In the evening, Hu Shaoxian made a sumptuous dinner, opened a bottle of red wine, turned off the lights, lit the candles she bought, and made a romantic candlelight dinner. Qin Haodong picked up a braised chicken leg and ate it. He couldn't help praising, it tastes good. Chicken legs are delicious. In the past few days, Hu Shaoxian had either stir-fried kidney flowers or fried penis flowers, which was really driving him crazy. Hu Shaoxian took the red wine and sat in his arms. She touched his glass gently and drank up the red wine in the glass. Then she stuck out her scarlet tongue and licked his ear gently. She said coquettishly, little man, I have good news. Do you want to hear it? What good news? Aunt menstruation is gone. Shall we do something? Chapter 409. Qin Haodong didn't seem to react for a while, but the second master figured out what was going on before he did and immediately became excited. Sitting on Qin Haodong's body and feeling the change of the second master, Hu Shaoxian giggled and said, little man, don't play dumb with me. I can feel it. Well, let's eat. Qin Haodong said with a little embarrassment. Hu Shaoxian hugged his neck tightly, put her cheek on his cheek and said, why do you only think about eating? Don't you want to eat me? Eat, I must eat you today. Qin Haodong was really tortured by Hu Shaoxian in the past few days. Now that his period was finally over, he could no longer control his inner impulse. He picked her up and rushed to the bedroom. Unexpectedly, when they just threw themselves on the big bed, they heard a violent knock outside the door. Who is so annoying? Qin Haodong said discontentedly. It's so late. Could it be that someone knocked on the wrong door? Hu Shaoxian was also a little surprised. They didn't know anyone in Burma at all. No one should come to the door at night. They originally wanted to wait and see, but the man didn't leave. On the contrary, the knocking on the door became more and more urgent. Qin Haodong sighed. It seemed that they had to stop. He and Hu Shaoxian put on their clothes again and went to the yard to open the door. As soon as the door was opened, a figure covered in blood rushed in from the outside and fell to the ground with a plop. Qin Haodong looked at it and found that it was a middle-aged man in his 40s. He was seriously injured at this time. There were more than a dozen wounds on his body, including gunshot wounds and knife wounds. Fortunately, none of them were fatal, so he was alive. Qin Haodong carried him into the clinic, put him on the bed, and used genuine qi to force all the bullets out of his body. Then he applied the medicine on the wound and injected a trace of green wood genuine qi into him. A few minutes later, the middle-aged man slowly opened his eyes. He glanced around and found that he was in the Tangmen clinic. He said to Qin Haodong, Doctor, thank you for saving me. Qin Haodong said, You're welcome. I'm a doctor. It's my duty to save people. The middle-aged man took out a few bloody bills from his pocket and put them on the bed. Then he struggled to stand up. Hu Shaoxian said, Your injury has just healed. It's not suitable for you to move now. The middle-aged man said, Thank you for saving me, but I will bring disaster to you if I stay here. I must leave now. Qin Haodong said, You're a patient, and I'm a doctor. Now you've lost too much blood and your wound hasn't completely healed. Just rest here for one night before you leave. The middle-aged man's facial features were regular and he looked honest. He didn't look like a treacherous person, so he decided to help him. Little brother, you don't know that me staying here will really harm you. The middle-aged man was about to say something when he heard a bang outside the door. The door of the clinic was kicked open, and then more than a dozen people rushed in from the outside. These people looked like ferocious fiends, holding short knives, steel pipes, and other similar weapons in their hands. The bald man who led them even held a jet-black pistol in his hand. After seeing the middle-aged man on the bed, the big man sneered, "Li Zhong, why don't you run? I want to see where you can run to." Li Zhong sighed. He knew that he couldn't escape this time. He said, "I can go back with you, but I have nothing to do with this clinic, and I don't know the doctors here. I hope you can let them go." The bald man shouted arrogantly, "Li Zhong, you're about to die. What qualifications do you have to negotiate with us? You're courting death if you dare to save the person we want to catch." Hearing that these people were from the Jade Gang, Qin Haodong's expression changed slightly. He said, "I don't care who you are, or who he is. I only know that this is my clinic, and he's my patient. You can do whatever you want outside, but as long as he's in the clinic, you're not allowed to touch him." "Boy, are you crazy? Didn't you hear that we're from the Jade Gang?" the bald man said and looked at Qin Haodong. At this time, he saw Hu Shaoxian standing behind Qin Haodong. His two small eyes suddenly flashed a strange light, with greed and lust. Filth became excited. "Boy, I didn't expect that there was such a beautiful woman hidden in your house. As long as you hand over this woman, I can let bygones be bygones, and I can spare your life." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Hu Shaoxian swayed her sexy body and walked in front of the bald man. She said coquettishly, "Brother, what do you want me to do?" The bald man's face was full of lust. He said with a smile, "Little girl, as long as you follow me, I'll have a good life in the future. I can have anything I want." Before he could finish speaking, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest, as if he had been hit by a train. His whole body suddenly flew back more than 10 meters and hit the wall behind him with a plop. Then, he began to vomit mouthfuls of blood. Hu Shaoxian slapped the bald man away and giggled, "I just want to teach you a lesson, you ignorant thing. Look at yourself in the mirror. How dare you to hit on me?" The bald man struggled to get up from the ground and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He pointed directly at Hu Shaoxian and roared angrily, "Kill him for me." Hearing his order, more than a dozen of his men rushed to Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. Seeing that the two of them were alone, Li Zhongxiang tried to come over and help, but before he could take a few steps, the dozen or so people were all sent flying. Moreover, all of them had their arms broken. Their steel pipes and knives fell to the ground, and the sound of wailing could be heard. This, Li Zhong was completely dumbfounded. He didn't see clearly what was going on when Hu Shaoxian taught the bald man a lesson. Now he saw clearly that the two young people in front of him turned out to be hidden masters. The strength of Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian was far beyond the bald man's expectation. He came to his senses and quickly took out a pistol from his waist. But before he could raise the muzzle, his wrist had been grabbed by Qin Haodong. Then, with two cracking sounds, his two arms were abruptly broken into two pieces, and the pistol fell to the ground with a clatter. "Boy, how dare you touch me, I'm from the Jade Gang." The bald man originally wanted to say something harsh, using the name of the Jade Gang to suppress the young man in front of him. Before he finished his words, he was punched in the mouth by Qin Haodong, and his teeth fell to the ground. "I don't care what gang you're from. This is my clinic. Get out of here. This time I only broke your arms, which is good for you. If there's a next time, I'll kill you." After that, he kicked the bald man's lower abdomen, directly kicking him out of the door of the clinic. Then, he turned his head to look at the Jade Gang members who kept wailing on the ground and said in a cold voice, "Get out of here." Seeing that their leader had been subdued, these people could no longer care about anything else and scrambled out of the place. After closing the door of the clinic again, Qin Haodong turned back and said to Li Zhong, "Don't worry, as long as you're in my clinic, no one can take you away." Hu Shaoxian also said, "Yes, have a good rest here tonight, and leave tomorrow after you've recovered." Looking at the two people in front of him with a complicated expression, Li Zhong hesitated for a moment, suddenly knelt on the ground and begged, "Two masters, please save my gang leader. Get up first and tell me slowly." Qin Haodong helped Li Zhong up and asked him to sit at the head of the bed. "What do you mean? Who the hell are you? Who's the gang leader you're talking about?" Li Zhong said, "I'm from the Jade Gang. My name is Li Zhong, and my gang leader is Lu Hankuan." Qin Haodong asked in surprise, "Since you're from the Jade Gang, why are those people chasing you? And I heard that the leader of the Jade Gang is called Zhou Tianhu. When did Lu Hankuan come out?" Li Zhong said, "Little brother, you don't know. A year ago, the leader of the Jade Gang was Lu Hankuan. Later, he was killed by Zhou Tianhu, and now he's locked in a cave in the back mountain." Qin Haodong thought of something and said, "Don't worry. Tell me slowly. What's going on?" Hu Shaoxian poured a glass of water and sent it to Li Zhong. Li Zhong drank up the water and then slowly told the story. It turned out that the old leader of the Jade Gang was called Lu Hankuan, and his ancestor was a general of the expeditionary army. Although he was also the leader of the gang, he was kind and modest. Because he had no children, he felt sorry for Zhou Tianhu and his sister, so he adopted them and regarded Zhou Tianhu as his son. But Zhou Tianhu was ambitious. Instead of being grateful, he stared at the position of the gang leader and cultivated his own power with the help of Lu Hankuan's trust. Later, he found a chance to usurp the position of the gang leader, arrested Lu Hankuan, and secretly imprisoned him in a cave in the back mountain of the Black Dragon Peak. Li Zhong had always been Lu Hankuan's confidant, but he had been arranged to work undercover in the new parliament, so others didn't know him. After Zhou Tianhu took over the position of the leader of the Jade Gang, it was announced that Lu Hankuan died of illness. But Li Zhong didn't believe it, so he secretly returned to the Jade Gang and wanted to investigate it. That night, he suddenly received a message that Lu Hankuan was not dead, but was imprisoned in the Black Dragon Cave in the back mountain. He secretly went to the Black Dragon Cave and wanted to find out the truth. It was better to save Lu Hankuan. He didn't expect that the defense of the Black Dragon Cave was so tight that he was discovered as soon as he arrived there. He was seriously injured. When he saw a clinic there, he knocked on the door of the clinic, and then he was saved by Qin Haodong. After listening to him, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian looked at each other and instantly understood each other's thoughts. They were just worried that there was no suitable candidate to take over the position of the leader of the Jade Gang. If they could save Lu Hankuan, they could not only deal with Zhou Tianhu, but also quickly integrate the Jade Gang. At that time, all the problems would be solved. Thinking of this, Qin Haodong turned to Li Zhong and said, "How is the prestige of your old leader in the gang?" Li Zhong said, "The old leader is a very good person and very considerate to his subordinates, so his prestige in the gang is very high." Zhou Tianhu also used the identity of the leader's adopted son to deceive everyone, otherwise he would not be able to sit in the position of the leader. As long as you can save the old leader, he can immediately expose Zhou Tianhu's true colors and return to the position of the leader. The Jade Gang is very rich, and the old leader will definitely thank you. Qin Haodong asked again, "How is the old leader's feelings for Huaxia?" Li Zhong said, "The old leader's father is from Huaxia, and his ancestral grave is also in Huaxia. He often regrets that he can't return to Huaxia, so he has a deep feeling for the people of Huaxia. For a long time, the raw jade stones in the gang have been sold to Huaxia merchants first." Qin Haodong nodded and said, "I promise you, I will help you save Lu Hankuan." Li Zhong said excitedly, "Great, then let's go now." Chapter 410. You can't go. Qin Haodong said, "After what happened tonight, the Black Dragon Peak will be alert, which will make it more difficult for us to save people. It's already very difficult to save Lu Hankuan. Taking you with us will only increase our burden." Well, Li Zhong originally wanted to go with these two people to help and do his part, but after thinking about it, with his skills and his current injuries, he would only become a burden to the two of them. Qin Haodong said, "Well, you draw a map of the Black Dragon Peak for us now." We'll definitely save the old boss within 3 days. Li Zhong thought for a moment and said, well, I'll draw it for you now. After that, he took a pen and paper and quickly drew a simple map of the Black Dragon Peak and its vicinity. Although the map was very simple, the basic terrain and structure were clearly outlined, and even the location of the cave was marked. He sent the map to Qin Haodong and said, that's all I know. I don't know the specific situation in the cave. That's enough. Qin Haodong took the map and said, after we leave, your safety will no longer be guaranteed. Now we'll send you out of the town and then find a place to hide. We'll contact each other by phone in 3 days. After exchanging phone numbers, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian closed the clinic and left with Li Zhong. They sent him out of the town and then rushed to the direction of the Black Dragon Peak. The Black Dragon Peak was not too far from the town, about a dozen miles away. Soon, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian arrived at the location marked on the map. They stopped and did not rush forward. Hu Shaoxian said, Haodong, do you think Li Zhong is trustworthy? Could he be a bait sent by the Jade Gang to catch us? Qin Haodong said, I've thought about it, but it's not very likely. I just used mind manipulating when I talked to Li Zhong, and he was telling the truth. So we can be sure that Lu Hankuan, the former boss of the Jade Gang, is not dead yet. I don't know why he has been imprisoned by Zhou Tianhu. Hu Shaoxian thought about it and felt that it was reasonable. They came to Burma secretly, and Qin Haodong also changed his appearance. The Jade Gang should not know their true identities. Qin Haodong said, anyway, we know nothing about Zhou Tianhu now. It's necessary to be well prepared. As he spoke, he took out Li Zhong's map and pointed to a location near the Black Dragon Mansion. Let's go there first. If it's suitable, we can set up a formation here. If anything happens, we'll have an escape route. As they spoke, they slowly approached the Black Dragon Peak. When they were near the foot of the mountain, they saw a huge tent. There were about a dozen gunmen in the tent. They should be the guards sent by Zhou Tianhu. Not far from the tent, there was a cave about 2 meters in diameter. There were a total of 6 gunmen at the entrance of the cave. 2 of them were standing in the open with their guns, while the other 4 were hiding in the dark. After scouting out the situation, the 2 of them slowly retreated and carefully surveyed the surrounding terrain of the Black Dragon Peak. Let's do it here. I think it's a good location. Qin Haodong pointed to another mountain and said. There was also a cave at the foot of the mountain. Although it wasn't too big, the entrance of the cave was 2 meters wide and about a dozen meters deep. It was very dry inside. There was a wide open space outside the cave, which was perfect for hiding. After choosing the location, Qin Haodong took out the formation flags and began to set up the formation. After an hour, he took Hu Shaoxian to the outside of the Black Dragon Peak to observe the situation and wait for the right time. The cave on the Black Dragon Peak was brightly lit and did not look dark. The cave was about 100 meters deep and was slightly wider inside. At the end of the cave, there was a cell made of steel bars. The area of the cell was about 7 or 8 square meters. It was surrounded by steel bars as thick as a child's arm. It looked very strong. Inside the cell, there was a shabby wooden bed. A man was sitting on the bed. From the appearance, they could only tell that it was a man, because his thick beard and hair had covered his whole face. They couldn't tell his age or appearance. He was extremely thin, and he seemed to be about 30 or 40 kilograms. The man was lying on the bed. If it weren't for the slight trembling of his beard when he breathed, they would have thought that he was a dead man. Godfather, I'm here to see you. With a shout, a young man in his 30s walked in from outside the cave, followed by 7 or 8 bodyguards. The young man was the current leader of the Jade Gang, Zhou Tianhu. The weak old man was the former leader, Lu Hankuan. He had been missing for a whole year. Everyone thought that he was dead. No one knew that he was trapped here. Lu Hankuan was still lying on the bed, motionless. Zhou Tianhu smiled at him and said, Godfather, you don't have to pretend to be dead. I know you're still alive. Seeing that Lu Hankuan still didn't speak, Zhou Tianhu said again, Godfather, you're going to die soon. Tell me the location of the jade mine. Do you want to take it to the coffin? At this time, Lu Hankuan finally moved. He sat up with difficulty and glanced at Zhou Tianhu through the hair in front of him. His eyes were full of deep hatred. You heartless and unscrupulous thing. Have you forgotten who raised you? Zhou Tianhu laughed arrogantly. When he was done, he said, Godfather, why do you say that? You see, I'm raising you now. You have food and drink here. You live alone in such a big cave with dozens of people serving you. What else do you want? Lu Hankuan kept shaking his beard, showing his inner anger. He said, You ungrateful wolf. Just give up. I won't tell you the location of the jade mine even if I die. Old bastard, do you think that as long as you keep this secret, I won't kill you? Zhou Tianhu said with a ferocious face, although there's a rumor that you have a jade mine that hasn't been developed yet, so what? Even if the jade is developed, can it be faster than drugs? Now I not only control the jade gang, but also killed the old bastard by Peng. I control the white wolf gang. I'm selling a lot of white powder to Huaxia, and a lot of money will flow into my pocket. Then I won't need your damn jade mine. The reason why I haven't killed you yet is that you're still useful. When I use you to transfer that guy named Qin here, you two can go to heaven together. Lu Hankuan asked in surprise, Who are you talking about? Zhou Tianhu said, You don't need to ask. You just need to know that someone will accompany you on the way to hell. While he was talking, the cell phone in his pocket rang. After he picked it up, a man's voice came from the other side. Boss, Baldy and the others have rushed Li Zhong to the Tang's clinic. As you expected, Qin saved Li Zhong and broke all the arms of Baldy and the others. Give the bald guy some money and let them find a place to recover. Zhou Tianhu hung up the phone. His face was full of excitement. He turned to Lu Hankuan and said, Godfather, unfortunately, I have to tell you that the guy will come here to save you soon. As long as I kill him, you can go with peace of mind. Outside the Black Dragon Cave, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian waited for a full hour, but there was still no change in the guards. Hu Shaoxian said, How long do we have to wait? Why don't we just kill our way in? Qin Haodong said, Let's wait a little longer. It's easy to kill these guards, but it's too noisy. If the people inside take Lu Hankuan as a hostage, it'll be difficult. Just then, the gunman in the tent moved. A total of 8 people came out of the tent and went to the door of the cave to change shifts with the gunman. 6 stayed at the door, and the other 2 went into the cave. Soon, the 2 gunmen who came out of the cave met the 6 outside and went back to the tent together. It was already midnight. After changing shifts, these people went back to the tent and fell asleep. Qin Haodong secretly opened a small hole in the tent with the 1,000 blades, and then sent the ecstasy pill in. These people still seemed to be sleeping, and there was no change. They would not wake up even if the sky fell down. After killing the people in the tent, he and Hu Shaoxian secretly killed all the 6 gunmen at the door of the cave, and then walked into the cave. The 2 gunmen in the cave were leaning against the cave wall sleepily. They felt that someone had come in. As soon as they looked up, 2 silver lights flashed, and then they completely lost consciousness. Qin Haodong killed the 2 gunmen with silver needles and strode into the cave with Hu Shaoxian. When they came to the front of the iron cell, Hu Shaoxian's purple flash sword flashed and cut the iron lock of the cell door. She opened the cell door and shouted to the inside, Senior Lu Hankuan, we're here to save you. Lu Hankuan, who was lying in bed, heard the movement and slowly sat up. When he saw the cell door open, he said excitedly, Who are you? Are you really here to save me? Hu Shaoxian said, We're Li Zhong's friends. Senior, let's go out and talk. Great, I, Lu Hankuan, can finally get out of here alive. Zhou Tianhu, you bastard, wait for me. After saying that, he quickly walked out of the cell. But as soon as he walked out of the cell door, suddenly a cold light flashed, and a long knife appeared on his neck. Qin Haodong asked coldly, "Who are you?" "Young man, what are you doing?" "I'm Lu Hankuan." "Impossible. Lu Hankuan has been locked up here for more than a year. Zhou Tianhu imprisoned him, not retired him. How could he be so energetic?" Qin Haodong directly used mind manipulating and asked again, "Tell me, who are you?" "I'm Zhang Dao, Zhou Tianhu's bodyguard." As soon as the man said this, the 1,000 blades had already pierced his throat. "Let's go. We've been fooled." Qin Haodong killed Zhang Dao and rushed out of the cave hand in hand with Hu Shaoxian. They rushed to the entrance of the cave without any resistance, which surprised Qin Haodong. Zhou Tianhu had spent a lot of effort to set up this trap, so he should have at least installed some bombs or some gunmen in the cave. How could there be no movement at all? When he came to the entrance of the cave, his whole heart sank. He immediately found the reason why Zhou Tianhu didn't stop him inside. He saw 3 people standing in a triangle at the entrance of the cave. The one on the left was an old acquaintance. She was Yagi Yukaim, the Japanese heaven-stage ninja whom he had just separated from a few days ago. The one on the right was a black-clothed martial artist. Although he had never seen him before, he was exuding a powerful aura. In the middle was an old Taoist in a grey robe. Qin Haodong's pupils shrank when he saw him. He had reached the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm. 3 Supreme Power Masters blocked the way. No wonder Zhou Tianhu didn't make any arrangements in the cave. Chapter 411. Qin Haodong was now at the peak of the 9th level of the covert power, barely half a step to the Supreme Power Realm. Hu Shaoxian had recently improved with the help of the spirit culturing elixir, but she was only at the 6th level of the covert power. There was no hope for the 2 of them to face the 3 Supreme Power Realm Masters. "Qin Haodong, what do you think? Are you satisfied with the arrangement I've made for you?" A burst of arrogant laughter was heard, and another figure flashed out. It was Zhou Tianhu, the leader of the Jade Gang. "Are you Zhou Tianhu?" Even in this situation, Qin Haodong didn't panic too much, and he still looked calm. "Yes, I am Zhou Tianhu." Zhou Tianhu took 2 steps forward, looked at Qin Haodong and said fiercely, "You bullied my sister in Jiangnan City, captured 2 of my men, and destroyed my important plans. I must kill you today. It's a great honor for you to set such a big trap for me." Qin Haodong said with a faint smile, "Zhou Tianhu, I'm just curious. How did you know that I came to Burma?" Zhou Tianhu said, "In fact, it's very simple. I also have an informant in Jiangnan City. Lin's group's raw jade gemstones were in urgent need, so you would definitely come to Burma." Although you changed your appearance, Qin Haodong was not in Jiangnan City, and suddenly a young master who cured General Li's sight with traditional Chinese medicine suddenly appeared here. Anyone with a little brain could guess that this person was Qin Haodong in disguise. "I wasn't completely sure before, so I set a small trap to try. I didn't expect you to take the bait so quickly. You're really smart. No wonder you can even plot against your adoptive father." Qin Haodong said with sarcasm, "You said that Li Zhong was a trap, but I don't think he's your man." "Yes, Li Zhong is the old ghost's man. After the old ghost was beaten by me, he sneaked back and wanted to save the old ghost. I knew that there was a fish that escaped the net, but I didn't do anything before. After confirming that you came to Burma, I deliberately arranged for someone to let him know that the old ghost was trapped by me in this cave. He was fooled and immediately jumped out to be the bait for me to catch you." Zhou Tianhu laughed proudly again. "How about it? That's a good plan, isn't it? Isn't it a surprise?" Qin Haodong nodded secretly. Although Zhou Tianhu was a scumbag, he was indeed smart. If Li Zhong was his man, Qin Haodong would have seen through him. Zhou Tianhu continued, "Qin Haodong, you're going to die today. I'd like to introduce these 3 to you so that you can die with peace of mind." He first pointed to the man in black next to him and said, "This is a famous guru in Southeast Asia, nicknamed Leng Feng, the fast saber Azura. Since I knew you were a master, I invited Mr. Leng to Burma with a lot of money, in order to cut off your head one day. Leng Dao was a famous supreme power master in Southeast Asia. He was greedy and lustful. That was why Zhou Tianhu had invited him here. He glanced at Qin Haodong, and then quickly turned his eyes to Hu Shaoxian. He said arrogantly, "Give this woman to me, and I'll leave you a whole body." Before Qin Haodong could speak, Hu Shaoxian said, "Stop dreaming. How dare you try to kill me with your ugly face? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself? I want to throw up when I see you." Leng Dao's face suddenly changed, and he was about to take action. Zhou Tianhu hurriedly said, "Senior Azura, don't be angry. You can do whatever you want with this woman after we kill this gigolo boy." The swift blade Azura suppressed his anger and snorted coldly without saying another word. Zhou Tianhu pointed to Yagi Yukaim and said, "This is Miss Yagi Yukaim, a heaven-stage ninja from Neon. She's also a supreme power master." Qin Haodong smiled and looked at Yagi Yukaim playfully. He said, "You don't need to introduce her. We're very familiar with each other. I've had in-depth communication with Miss Yukaim. I know her 3 measurements very well." Seeing that Qin Haodong was making fun of her, Yagi Yukaim said with a murderous look, "Damn you, I told you that I'd kill you." Qin Haodong ignored her and looked at the Taoist standing in the middle. The old Taoist's hair and beard were all white, and he seemed to be at least 100 years old. He wore a green Taoist robe, and he looked like an immortal. He didn't look like someone who would help a tyrant. He couldn't understand why such an otherworldly master would come to find trouble with him. The most important thing was that the old Taoist had reached the 2nd level of the supreme power realm. After all, it was extremely difficult to make further progress after reaching the supreme power realm. Many people could only stay at the 1st level of the supreme power realm for the rest of their lives. Similarly, the 2nd level of the supreme power realm was much stronger than the 1st level of the supreme power realm. He felt more threatened by the old Taoist than Leng Dao and Yagi Yukaim combined. He said, "Who is this Taoist?" This time, before Zhou Tianhu could speak, the old Taoist opened his eyes. There were 2 breathtaking lights flashing in his eyes. He said coldly, "I'm He Shi of the Qingyi sect." Qin Haodong was stunned and asked, "He Shi, aren't you the head of the Qingyi sect?" He Shi said, "I used to be, but now I've handed over the position to Dao Xian." Qin Haodong said, "He Shi, some time ago, I killed Dao Tong, the traitor of the Qingyi sect. That's helping you clean up. Even if you don't thank me, you don't have to make trouble for me, do you?" Hearing Dao Tong's name, He Shi was full of killing intent. He said in a cold voice, "It's because you killed Dao Tong that I'm here to kill you today." Qin Haodong said in astonishment, "Taoist, are you mistaken? Dao Tong has done many evil things over the years. First, he used the ghost refining skill on ordinary people, and then he refined the 5 elements of soul-nourishing pill. Doesn't he deserve to die?" He Shi said with a murderous look, "It's none of your business whether Dao Tong deserves to die or not. I've lived for 100 years, and I only have one son, but he was killed by you. Do you think I should kill you?" Qin Haodong didn't know that when he came to Burma, Dao Xian also returned to the Qingyi sect with Dao Tong's body. After seeing Dao Tong's body, He Shi, the head of the sect, didn't show any joy. Instead, he burst into tears, which confused Dao Xian. It turned out that Dao Tong was the illegitimate son of He Shi. Because of this, although Dao Tong had violated the rules of the sect, He Shi did not execute him. On the contrary, he sent Dao Xian, who had the deepest relationship with Dao Tong, to clean up the sect. It was obvious that he was indulging Dao Tong. After asking about the cause of Dao Tong's death, He Shi was so sad and indignant that he directly handed over the position of the head of the sect to Dao Xian. He chased after Qin Haodong with a sword to avenge his son. Qin Haodong said with a surprised face, "You are the Taoist. How could Dao Tong be your son?" Of course, He Shi didn't want to explain this to him. He said, "Don't talk nonsense. You must die today." Zhou Tianhu looked at Qin Haodong playfully. At this time, he was in a cat-and-mouse mentality, so he was not in a hurry to do anything. In his opinion, with the three supreme masters, Qin Haodong couldn't fly out even if he had 2 wings. "Qin Haodong, how about it? Now you understand. Let's go." After knowing the identity of the 3 people, Hu Shaoxian was desperate. She had the same opinion as Zhou Tianhu. She didn't think there was any hope of getting out alive today. She turned to look at Qin Haodong and said with deep eyes, "Little man, I regret it." Qin Haodong said, "Why, do you regret coming with me?" "No, I'm very happy to die with you." Hu Shaoxian said with watery eyes, "I regret that I didn't come here after sleeping with you. I still don't know what it's like to be a man." Leng Dao said with a lewd smile, "Little woman, I didn't expect you to be a virgin. Don't worry, I'll let you know what a man is." Qin Haodong took Hu Shaoxian's hand and said, "Little devil, don't worry. Even if the 3 of them die, we won't die." Then he suddenly turned his head and looked at Leng Dao coldly. He said, "You dare to humiliate my woman. You'll be the first to die today." Leng Dao laughed wildly and said, "You're just an ant. How dare you talk to me like that?" Qin Haodong said to Hu Shaoxian, "Let's kill this old guy together." Then he took out 2 wind talismans and put them on them. Then he took out a stack of puppet talismans and held them in his hand. He had prepared those talismans in advance when he went to Shenangjia last time. He didn't expect that they would come in handy today. "Kill!" Qin Haodong shouted and rushed to Leng Dao hand in hand with Hu Shaoxian. He raised his hand and threw all the talismans in his hand. The talismans changed in the wind and soon turned into pairs of Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. They rushed to Leng Dao hand in hand. Leng Dao's pupils shrank. He was just a warrior and didn't know anything about magic. There were 10 pairs of Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian in front of him. He knew very well that only 1 pair was real, but he couldn't tell which one was real and which one was fake. But he was a guru after all. Although he couldn't tell which one was real, he had his own way. He raised his hand and pulled out the willow leaf saber on his back. The saber turned into a sky full of saber radiance and chopped at the figures in front of him. The pair at the front immediately disappeared after being cut by the saber. They turned into 2 pieces of yellow paper and slowly fell to the ground. Then the 2nd pair, the 3rd pair, and the 6th pair were all cut by him. They were all puppet talismans. Meanwhile, the remaining 4 pairs had passed through Leng Dao's blockade. With the help of the wind talismans, Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian's speed was more than doubled. They rushed forward. The reason why Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian chose Leng Dao as their breakthrough point was not because he had humiliated Hu Shaoxian, but because the formation they had set before was in this direction. As long as they entered the formation, they would be completely safe. Even the 3 gurus couldn't do anything to them. When he and Hu Shaoxian were rushing forward, a figure flashed in front of them. Yagi Yukaim blocked their way with Djigiri Yasutsuna. Seeing that Qin Haodong had escaped from him, Leng Dao held the willow leaf saber and looked frighteningly gloomy. But he didn't chase after them. All gurus had their own pride. Yagi Yukaim wouldn't cooperate with him even if he put down his pride in the face of 2 opponents at the covert power level. "Qin Haodong, I told you, you must die." Yagi Yukaim looked gloomy. The Djigiri Yasutsuna in her hand moved as fast as lightning. Soon, the other 3 puppet talismans fell to the ground, leaving only Qin Haodong and Hu Shaoxian. "You go first. I'll deal with this woman." Qin Haodong shouted and pushed Hu Shaoxian out with both hands. The 1,000 blades in his hand flashed and rushed to Yagi Yukaim. Chapter 412. Both of them slashed with their knives, but the gap in their cultivation was immediately revealed. After Yagi Yukaim slashed with her knife, the surrounding air seemed to be under great pressure and made a harsh sound. Although Qin Haodong's knife was also very powerful, after it met Yagi Yukaim's knife chi, the knife chi in the sky immediately disappeared. Huaxia man, go to hell. After Yagi Yukaim's Dajijiri Yasutsuna collided with Qin Haodong's 1,000 blades, a crisp sound was heard. The 1,000 blades was shaken high and almost flew out of her hand. However, Dajijiri Yasutsuna did not stop at all. It directly slashed toward Qin Haodong's face. Seeing that Qin Haodong was about to be cut in half, his body completely violated the rules and retreated backward, as if he had been greatly pulled. He narrowly escaped Yagi Yukaim's knife. It was Hu Shaoxian, who had already reached 10 meters away, who had saved Qin Haodong. He had planned all of this before. He knew that Yagi Yukaim's target was him, so he sent Hu Shaoxian out first. At the same time, he wrapped a piece of invisible silk around his waist. After Hu Shaoxian safely broke through, she immediately pulled the silk and dragged Qin Haodong over. Seeing that Qin Haodong had used this strange way to avoid her fatal knife, Yagi Yukaim angrily scolded, "Despicable Huaxia man." However, like Leng Dao, she also stopped and did not chase after him, because Blackstone Taoist had already stood in front of them. Blackstone Taoist was nearly 100 years old. He was thin and had white hair, but he stood there like an insurmountable mountain, bringing great pressure to the two people. This was the position of a level 2 Supreme Power Master. In contrast, Yagi Yukaim and Leng Dao were much weaker. Faced with Qin Haodong's cultivation, Blackstone Taoist didn't even bother to pull out the long sword on his back. He glanced at the two people and said, "Boy, you can't pass this test no matter what. Go and be buried with my son." "How do you know if you haven't tried?" Qin Haodong said as he raised his hand. Dozens of silver needles shot toward Heisher like a storm. A look of disdain flashed across Blackstone's eyes. It was as if he did not see these silver needles at all. When these silver needles arrived in front of him, it was as if they had encountered an invisible wall. They all fell down and didn't even touch his Daoist robe. Everyone present was secretly shocked. They didn't expect Blackstone's protective astral energy to be so powerful. A trace of arrogance flashed across Blackstone's face. He coldly said, "Brat, seeing that you are my junior, I will allow you 3 moves. After 3 moves, I will definitely kill you." With a serious face, Qin Haodong shouted, "I don't believe it." Again. After saying that, countless beams of cold light shot towards Blackstone Daoist. There were flying knives, flying arrows and all sorts of hidden weapons. However, they were all the same. They were incapable of breaking through even Blackstone Daoist's protective astral energy. Unable to harm even a hair on his body, they all fell to the ground. Blackstone sneered and said, "You still have one last chance to make a move, then go report to Yama." "I don't believe it." Again. After saying that, Qin Haodong attacked again. 3 black objects shot towards Blackstone Daoist from the top, middle and bottom. This time, it was not as powerful as the previous 2 attacks, and the speed of the objects was not fast. In everyone's view, Qin Haodong had exhausted his limited abilities. The previous 2 hidden weapons had not hurt Blackstone Daoist, and these 3 black objects could not break through Blackstone Daoist's protective astral energy either. Blackstone Daoist did not take Qin Haodong's attack seriously. He even raised his chin slightly and did not dodge. He let the 3 black objects hit him. In his view, Qin Haodong could not break through his protective astral energy at all. Seeing Blackstone Daoist being so arrogant, Qin Haodong's eyes flashed with a hint of playfulness. This was the effect he wanted. He took out a black remote control with his right hand and pressed the button on it. It turned out that he had shot out 3 pieces of sea. These were the things that the killer had planted in his car before. Later, he found them and put them in his storage ring. Today, they came in handy. Although Blackstone Daoist had a high level of cultivation, he did not know the power of sea. The 4 explosives were modern things, and he did not know the power of these things. Otherwise, he would not have let them get close to him. When he wanted to use his protective astral energy to shake off the three black objects like before, Qin Haodong had already pressed the button on the remote control in his hand. The three explosives made an earth-shattering noise and exploded with a bang. 3 high-explosive C. The 4 explosives exploded at the same time. The power was so great that even the surrounding mountains seemed to tremble. Blackstone Daoist never dreamed that these 3 black objects could be so powerful, let alone that Qin Haodong could control them to explode. Because of his ignorance, he suffered a great loss. His whole body was blown away like a broken sack. However, the Daoist's protective astral energy was indeed strong enough. Although he was blown away dozens of meters away, his body was not blown into pieces as Qin Haodong had expected. He only spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. The moment he pressed the button on the remote control, Qin Haodong was already lying on the ground with Hu Shaoxian. After the explosion, when he saw that Blackstone Daoist was not killed, there was a flash of regret in his eyes. But he knew that the crisis was not over yet. He quickly pulled Hu Shaoxian up and tried his best to rush toward the formation. Ah, an angry roar sounded behind him. It was Blackstone Daoist. He was completely enraged by Qin Haodong. Ever since he became a supreme power expert, he had not been so seriously injured for many years. Today, he was set up by a young man. How could he not be angry? Forcibly suppressing the internal injuries, his body instantly turned into a shadow and rushed toward Qin Haodong at an unimaginable speed. No matter what, he had to kill this young man. Although Qin Haodong had used the Divine Wind Talisman, his cultivation was 2 levels lower than that of the Daoist. Although he had tried his best, the Daoist quickly approached him. The formation he had set was already in front of him, but Blackstone Daoist had also come behind him. Boy, go to hell! Blackstone Daoist shouted and punched at Qin Haodong's back. This punch was made by a second-level supreme power expert. Its power was earth-shattering. The surrounding air seemed to have been sucked out, making people feel great pressure. You go first. Qin Haodong sent Hu Shaoxian into the formation again. He turned around and slashed at Blackstone Daoist with his knife. A ferocious look flashed across Blackstone Daoist's face. He did not dodge this punch and directly hit the 1,000 blades. At this time, his fist was covered with protective upstanding energy, which was no less than a magic weapon. After colliding with the 1,000 blades, there was a muffled bang. The powerful force rolled up the sand and stones in the sky, hitting the surrounding rocks and trees with a crackling sound. Although Qin Haodong had tried his best, the gap between them was too big. One was a half-step to the Supreme Power Realm, while the other was a second-level Supreme Power Realm expert. Even though the 1,000 blades was a magic weapon, it still could not do anything to Blackstone Daoist's fist. This time, the 1,000 blades was swung high. At the same time, Qin Haodong's chest was hot and he almost spat out blood. Go and be buried with my son. At this time, Qin Haodong's body was already open and he had no ability to resist. Blackstone Daoist's palm pressed on his dantian and lower abdomen. The old Daoist Blackstone was determined to take his life. Thus, he did not hold back in the slightest. At the same time, he was confident that this attack would not only shatter the dantian of this enemy who had killed his son, it would also shatter all of his internal organs into dust. But soon, he found that after his palm hit Qin Haodong's lower abdomen, Qin Haodong immediately sent out a huge invisible force, which dissolved 90% of the power of his palm. After Qin Haodong was hit by the palm, there was a crisp sound in his ear. The black iron amulet that had been placed on his waist had been broken into pieces. This thing was bought in the antique street. It could withstand 3 attacks from a Supreme Power Realm expert. It had been smashed by Dao Tong twice before, and now there was only one last time left. However, Blackstone Daoist was already a second-level Supreme Power Realm expert, which had exceeded the tolerance range of the black iron. Fortunately, he had just been injured in the explosion, so this palm could not reach its peak strength. Otherwise, Qin Haodong would still be killed on the spot. Even so, Qin Haodong was swatted away like a fly, and he spat out an arrow of blood in midair. Haodong, Gu Shaoxian let out a sad cry, and then shook her wrist, directly pulling Qin Haodong into the formation. Knowing that the crisis was not over, Qin Haodong used the last trace of his consciousness to launch the formation. In an instant, the two of them disappeared. Bastard! Blackstone Daoist cursed angrily. He was always unwilling to see Qin Haodong die in front of him with his own eyes. Today, I'm going to cut off your head and offer it to my son. He pulled out the long sword behind him and slashed in the direction where the two of them had disappeared. But just after he slashed out with his sword, the air around him immediately formed chi, like arrows all over the sky, with a fierce murderous intent, shooting at him from all directions. These chi rays were so powerful that even Blackstone Daoist's protective upstanding chi could not stop them. Soon, his Taoist robe was torn into pieces. This is a killing formation. Blackstone Daoist was also experienced and knowledgeable. He waved the long sword in his hand to resist the attack of the chi rays and quickly retreated. Fortunately, he reacted quickly. In addition, Qin Haodong was seriously injured at this time and could not control the formation. He completely relied on the formation to fight back spontaneously, so Blackstone Daoist escaped. Zhou Tianhu, Yagi Yukheim and Leng Feng walked over together. They looked surprised and asked, "Senior Blackstone, what's going on?" Blackstone Daoist said with a livid face, "This little bastard, he actually set up a formation here in advance, and it's a powerful killing formation." "What? He can set up a formation?" Leng Feng was also shocked. He did not take Qin Haodong seriously at first, but he did not expect that the young man was not only meticulous but also had a backup plan in advance. Zhou Tianhu was an ordinary person. He had neither heard of nor understood formations. He asked, "What kind of killing formation is it? Is it very powerful?" Leng Feng said, "It's more than powerful. If people who don't know about formations enter it, they will definitely die." As he spoke, he waved the long willow leaf knife in his hand. From the tree next to him, a thick branch was cut, and then he threw it forward. The moment the thick tree branch entered the range of the killing array, it immediately shattered into pieces. In less than a second, it was ground into a ball of powder by the violent killing intent. So powerful? Zhou Tianhu was shocked and hurriedly took 2 steps back, for fear that he would die in the formation. After calming down, he said to the 3 masters, "Masters, you are all extraordinary masters. You must be able to break this formation, right?" Chapter 413. Yagi Yukheim said, "I'm from Neon. I only know ninjutsu and knife skills. I know nothing about arrays." Leng Dao said, "I'm just a warrior. I have dozens of ways to kill people, but I've only heard about arrays. It's the first time I've seen one, let alone broken one." After saying that, the few of them turned to look at the Blackstone Daoist. "God immeasurable." The Blackstone Taoist said, "I'm a monk. I know a little about catching ghosts and killing demons, but I've never dabbled in arrays." Seeing that no one knew how to break the array, Ling Dao said, "What should we do? We can't stay here forever." The Blackstone Taoist said, "Why not? We have food and drinks here. I don't think they can hide in the array for long. I can kill them as soon as they come out." Yagi Yukheim said coldly, "I came to Burma for only one purpose, and that is to kill Qin Haodong. I won't leave until I cut off his head." Leng Dao thought about it and agreed. That was the only way. They had to wait for Qin Haodong and Yagi Yukheim to come out of the array. At that moment, Zhou Tianhu said, "Guys, I actually have an idea." The few of them looked at him and asked in surprise, "What? Can you break the formation?" Zhou Tianhu laughed and said, "I don't know how to break the array, but I have guns and cannons. I don't believe I can't blow them up." Their eyes lit up. They were all warriors, so they weren't interested in firearms. At that moment, they realized that although the killing array could stop people from going in, it couldn't stop guns and cannons. Sometimes, the stupidest method was the most useful. Ling Dao said, "That's a good idea. We can give it a try." Zhou Tianhu laughed and raised his hand to call 2 of his men. "Get all the gunmen here and shoot at the array." Soon, dozens of gunmen gathered outside the killing array with pistols, AKs, and even 2 light machine guns and a small rocket launcher. "Shoot them. Beat him hard," Zhou Tianhu shouted fiercely. The gunners couldn't see anything and didn't understand why they were shooting at the air. However, since their master had spoken, they didn't have to pay for the bullets anyway. So, they pulled the trigger fiercely and a large number of bullets rained down on the empty space in front of them. Very soon, the sky was filled with cannon fire, and smoke rose in all directions, plowing the ground in front of them. 10 minutes later, Zhou Tianhu felt it was enough. He waved his hand to stop his men. He turned around and said to He Shi and the others, "Seniors, this should be enough, right?" Ling Feng picked up another branch and threw it at the killing formation. Just like last time, it was crushed into powder. It could be seen that although guns and cannons could hit the formation, they could not destroy it. Blackstone frowned and said, "I can sense that these 2 people aren't dead." Zhou Tianhu cried, "How is that possible? There are so many bullets. Even an immortal would be killed." Blackstone said, "In my opinion, Qin Haodong must have set up more than just the killing formation. There must be other hidden formations. That's why I can't see clearly what's going on inside. But I have a feeling that they aren't dead." Well, Zhou Tianhu didn't expect that such intensive fire couldn't kill Qin Haodong, which made him panic. The 3 men in front of him were all masters and they weren't afraid of Qin Haodong, but he wasn't. Once Qin Haodong came out, he would be the first one to be killed. He asked nervously, "Seniors, is there any other way?" Blackstone said, "The stupidest way is also the most useful one. We can only stay here. They don't have anything to eat or drink. I believe they will come out in a few days." Zhou Tianhu said quickly, "Well, I'll arrange for tents and food right away. Thank you for your hard work." He Shi Taoist and Yagi Yukaim were determined to kill Qin Haodong, while Ling Dao Azura coveted Hu Xiaoxian's beauty. All 3 of them had something to ask of Qin Haodong, so it was easy for them to reach an agreement and live next to the formation. Inside the killing formation, Qin Haodong was held in Hu Xiaoxian's arms as soon as he landed. The 2 of them immediately hid in the prepared cave. She took out a blanket from her storage ring and spread it on the ground. Then she carefully put Qin Haodong on the blanket and lay down. As soon as Qin Haodong lay down, he spat out several mouthfuls of blood. His face was as pale as paper and his breathing was much weaker. "Haodong, how are you? Don't scare me," Hu Xiaoxian said nervously. Qin Haodong took out a few healing pills and popped them into his mouth, but they didn't have much of an effect on his injuries. Blackstone's palm was too powerful, and his internal organs had suffered serious internal injuries. The worst thing was that his dantian had been shattered. Without the nourishment of the greenwood genuine qi, these injuries couldn't be healed at all. Although he was still alive, he couldn't hold on for long. He took a breath and said in a weak voice, "Xiaoxian, I'm sorry. I've planned everything carefully, but I didn't expect an old Taoist to appear. I didn't expect Zhou Tianhu to invite 3 masters at the Supreme Power Realm. I'm the one who got you into trouble. It's not your fault. It's not your fault at all." Hu Xiaoxian took his hand and said, "How are you injured? You're the medical sage. You must be able to cure yourself, right?" Qin Haodong smiled bitterly and said, "The medical sage is not an immortal. My injuries are too serious. I didn't expect that the old man's cultivation had reached the 2nd level of the Supreme Power Realm. He shattered my dantian. Even an immortal can't save me." At this point, he felt incomparably desolate, and his heart was filled with reluctance. God had played a big joke on him. allowing him to find his daughter from his previous life after reincarnation and meet so many confidants. Now, all of this was to be taken away from him. Feeling Qin Haodong's emotions, Xiaoxian said, "Young man, don't be sad. We will find a way." Qin Haodong said, "Don't deceive yourself. Even I can't cure the injury. No one in this world can cure it." Speaking of this, he began to vomit blood again. Hu Xiaoxian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Young man, don't be afraid. I have a way to save you. Take this pill quickly." In a daze, Qin Haodong saw Hu Xiaoxian holding a pill in her hand and putting it into his mouth. The most terrible thing was that it turned out to be a small blue pill. Although he was so seriously injured that he couldn't speak, his mind was still clear. He immediately realized what Hu Xiaoxian had given him. A small blue pill. At this time, she was still giving him a small blue pill. What was this little goblin going to do? Did she want to? Just thinking of this, Hu Xiaoxian had already begun to take off their clothes. Soon, Qin Haodong became naked, and then Hu Xiaoxian. Qin Haodong didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was already like this, but Hu Xiaoxian still had this kind of idea. But he also knew that this woman was infatuated with him. Since there was only a little time left in his life, he would do something for her. It seemed that the second leader had sensed her thoughts. Although he was now extremely weak, he still regained his vitality. In a strange feeling, he slowly lost consciousness. Hu Xiaoxian stayed by Qin Haodong's side. Seeing that the small blue pill had worked, she immediately sat on it. A trace of pain flashed across her beautiful face, and then a touch of determination appeared. She murmured, "Celestial Fox life sacrifice." When Qin Haodong regained consciousness again, he felt that the meridians in his body were trembling. Countless pure spiritual qi filled his whole body, from the meridians to the dantian, without any gap. When his dantian was broken, all the genuine qi in his body collapsed into all the meridians. At this time, with the nourishment of spiritual qi, the genuine qi became stronger and thicker. Finally, the meridians could not accommodate the genuine qi, and began to have a kind of tearing pain. As the Emperor Green would in his previous life, Qin Haodong was very familiar with this feeling. This was the process from the breaking of the dantian to the bearing essence. What was going on? Wasn't he injured by the Black Stone Taoist? Why was he suddenly going to bearing essence? But at this time, he had no time to think so much. If he waited for a while, the meridians would explode because of the genuine qi, and then he would really be finished. Thinking of this, he quickly calmed his mind and guided the genuine qi in the meridians to condense in the dantian. At this moment, his dantian had been broken. After condensing the genuine qi there, it still had nowhere to go. The genuine qi behind it rushed in one after another, and the pressure became greater and greater. Finally, with a click, with a faint sound, a golden elixir the size of a grain of rice appeared in the middle of his dantian and began to rotate slowly. At the same time, an extremely comfortable feeling rose from the bottom of Qin Haodong's heart. His cultivation began to rise at the speed of a rocket. As the genuine qi continued to flow in, the golden elixir became bigger and bigger, and finally reached the size of a longan. Early stage of gold elixir. Qin Haodong was so excited that he wanted to go crazy. Not only did he not die, but he also unexpectedly formed a golden elixir. Sensing how powerful he was now, a series of rumbling sounds rang out from within his body. That was the sound of his blood rushing through his veins, causing the entire space to tremble. Every single meridian, every single blood vessel was like a surging river. Powerful. It was really powerful. This was the second time he had formed a golden elixir, but he felt that it was far more powerful than the first time. At this time, the power in his body seemed endless, as if he could blow up the whole earth with one punch. He knew that this was an illusion, but after reaching the golden elixir stage, his cultivation had changed dramatically compared with the previous foundation establishment stage. Although he was only at the early stage of the golden elixir stage, it was enough to compare with the third level of the supreme power realm in the martial arts world. He couldn't understand how there was so much spiritual chi for him to condense such a high-quality golden elixir on the earth, where spiritual chi was scarce. He was a cultivator, and he needed a high degree of purity of spiritual chi to transition from the foundation establishment stage to the golden elixir stage. Even spirit stones couldn't meet his needs. Otherwise, he would have broken through to the supreme power realm long ago. Finally, the golden elixir in his dantian was completely stabilized. It was like a bright pearl, blooming with soft light, but it also contained terrible power. He Shi and the others were guarding outside the formation together. After waiting for a long time, there was no movement. Zhou Tianhu asked, Taoist, do you think Qin Haodong has just been killed? Yagi Yukaim said, that's impossible. He's not dead. Zhou Tianhu said, but if he's not dead, why is there no movement at all? As soon as he finished speaking, the situation within the formation suddenly changed. Countless strands of spiritual energy surged into the formation. Immediately after, an extremely powerful aura erupted from within the formation. This kind of power caused even Blackstone to feel a tremble from the depths of his soul. His expression changed greatly and he said, oh no, someone is going to become a supreme power realm. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.